Chapter 1539. Little brother, you're too unfriendly. 3. You guys look after him. I'll continue my research on the soul forgetfulness. After Lung Ruoxue finished speaking, she walked straight into the house. After returning to her room, Lung Ruoxue immediately flashed into the purple bamboo house in her bangle. In the alchemy room of the purple bamboo house, she adjusted the proportion of the medicinal materials that she had refined last time, and added a few new medicinal herbs. After repeated experiments, she finally refined another kind of medicinal pill. The pill this time was slightly bigger than the previous one. The color of the pill was also slightly darker, and it did not look as pretty as the previous one. Therefore, Lung Ruoxue was not sure if the pill this time could cure the soul-forgetting poison. However, she had to give it a try. Lung Ruoxue took the newly refined pills and left the house. After entering the cave, he saw that Grape and the others were there. When they saw Lung Ruoxue, they were a little surprised. "Miss, it hasn't even been a day and you've already made it?" Grape could not help but ask. "And I've refined another one. Let him try it," Lung Ruoxue said with a faint smile. However, she couldn't help but sigh in her heart. She didn't use less than a day. It might not have been a day outside, but time was accelerated in the bracelet, so she had spent quite a long time refining this. Grape took the pill from Lung Ruoxue's hands and excitedly grabbed Ning Duan, who was crawling on the ground. He roughly pried open his mouth and threw the pill in. Following that, the eyes of the 5 people were fixed on Ning Duan. This time Ning Duan did not fall asleep. He continued to crawl around like a headless fly. After a long while, he began to roll around on the ground, his hands constantly scratching his body. When he could not reach it, he began to rub it against the ground. Then he began to tear at his clothes. In the blink of an eye, his already tattered clothes were all torn off, and he was completely naked. Ning Haolan and Cheng Xian couldn't help but turn their heads away when they saw his ruddy appearance. However, Lung Ruoxue, Grape, and Lotus Seed were much more generous than them. It was as if they hadn't seen Ning Duan's ruddy appearance. Their 6 eyes were still fixed on him, staring fixedly. In truth, they were afraid that Ning Duan would run away. Sensing the calmness of Lung Ruoxue and the other 2, Ning Haolan and Cheng Xian looked at each other with a bitter smile. A sense of powerlessness that they had never felt before slowly rose in their hearts. They also felt that their actions were a little embarrassing. The 3 women did not even think that they should be impolite, so why should they care? After Ning Duan consumed the pill, Lung Ruoxue also observed him for a day. After a day, seeing that Ning Duan was still acting crazy, she returned to the purple bamboo house to study the forgotten soul. A week later, Lung Ruoxue had yet to come out of her room, and Ning Haolan was getting anxious from the wait. "Why don't I bring Ning Duan back first?" Ning Haolan said helplessly as he looked at the grapes and lotus seeds in the cave. In the past few days, Ning Duan's elders had been clamoring to see him, but he had stopped them all. He could stop them for now, but he could not stop them forever. There were already people in the clan who were beginning to suspect Ning Duan's whereabouts, so he wanted to take Ning Duan back to buy some time. "Young Master Ning, it's not that I don't want you to bring Ning Duan back, but you've seen how that fellow is right now. Do you think that if he returns and the elders of his lineage see him like this, they'll be able to act as if nothing happened?" She did not approve of Ning Haolan bringing Ning Duan back, but if he insisted, she would not be able to stop him. Still, she had to say what she needed to say. "Haolan, Grape's words are very reasonable. With Ning Duan's current condition, there's no point in bringing him back. On the contrary, it'll be easier for you to attract gossip." Cheng Xian agreed. "Then what do you guys think we should do? The 19th elder has been asking me for her." Ning Haolan said, his head aching. "He wants his. If you don't give it to him, will he eat you?" Grape said disapprovingly. "I'm just afraid that he'll make a big deal out of it, and it won't be easy to end it." Ning Haolan said. This was what he was most worried about. In fact, if the 19th elder really went to the forefather, he would not be afraid. He was afraid that the old man would be restless and try to incite the clansmen who did not know what was going on. At that time, even the forefather would have a headache. With your family's old ancestor here, he shouldn't dare to make a scene, right? Cheng Xian said with uncertainty. That old man has always found me an eyesore. If I don't take the opportunity to find trouble, I won't be him. Ning Haolan sighed. Hearing Ning Haolan's words, Grape, Lotus Seed, and Chengxian looked at each other, no one saying a word. The atmosphere suddenly became heavy. In truth, they didn't have any good ideas, but they knew very well that bringing the now dumbfounded Ning Duan back to the Ning family was not a wise move. What happened? Suddenly, Lung Ruoxia's voice rang out from within the cave. Upon hearing it, Grape and the rest ran out in a hurry. Miss, you've finally come out. Grape ran in front of Lung Ruoxia and said with a sigh of relief. Seeing her own young miss, her heart also settled down, as if she had found her backbone. Great aunt, you've finally come out. Chengxian said in surprise. What's wrong? Are you anxious from waiting? Lung Ruoxia chuckled as she teased. Following that, she took out an elixir and passed it to Grape. This elixir was different from the previous two. It was pure black and the size of a longan. There was no light flowing on it, and it looked extremely ordinary and unremarkable. After Grape received the pill, he grabbed the sleeping Ning Duan, pried open his mouth, and stuffed it in. Then with a bang, he threw Ning Duan to the ground. Ning Duan, who was in a daze from his sleep, was awakened by the pain. He looked at Grape and the others with eyes full of fear and shrank into a corner, not even daring to raise his head. Ignoring Ning Duan's expression, Lung Ruoxia turned to Ning Haolan and said, Did the Ning family give you trouble? Not really. It's just that the elders of Ning Duan's bloodline have always wanted to see him, but I stopped them. They're already beginning to suspect that something has happened to Ning Duan. Ning Haolan replied honestly, It's been hard on you. Lung Ruoxia said apologetically, I wanted to bring him back first, but he really can't meet anyone like this. Ning Haolan said, his head aching. Don't worry, I'm very confident this time. Lung Ruoxia said calmly. Really? Ning Haolan was pleasantly surprised as he looked at Lung Ruoxia in disbelief. Well, no, in a while. Lung Ruoxia smiled but did not say anything. She spoke in a mysterious manner. Not long after, Ning Duan, who was in the corner, suddenly stood up and glared at Lung Ruoxia and the rest. He roared in anger. Damn it, how dare you treat me like this? I won't let you off. Not only did Ning Duan's threat not anger Lung Ruoxia and the others, it made them exceptionally happy. This meant that Ning Duan had returned to normal, and that Lung Ruoxia's pill was effective. At this moment, Ning Duan's eyes revealed a fierce glint, as if he wanted to tear Lung Ruoxia and the others into pieces. When Chengxian saw this, he smiled faintly and said, It seems that he has really returned to normal. However, it seems that he is too normal. He even dares to threaten us. I really want to know why you won't let us go. Chengxian provoked. During this period of time, he had been rather aggrieved because that damn tiger kept coming to his side for no reason. It would either use its demonic voice to sing to him or provoke him. On account of Lung Ruoxia, he couldn't do anything to that damn tiger, so he could only sulk alone. He tried to avoid that stinky tiger as much as possible. However, he couldn't get rid of the sulkiness in his heart. As such, he decided to use Ning Duan as a scapegoat today to vent his anger. I am a direct descendant of the Ning family. If you treat me like this, the Ning family won't let you off. Ning Duan spoke incoherently. In truth, his threat was merely words spoken out of anger. The two maidservants would be able to take care of the few people here without anyone else doing anything. Therefore, even though his words were harsh, his heart was trembling. Io was a direct descendant of the Ning family, very impressive. Which of us here doesn't have a higher status than you? You still dare to use your identity to threaten us? I think you're really tired of living. Chengxian said with a calm smile. Young master, you actually joined forces with outsiders to bully your own family. If the patriarch and the elders find out about this, they won't let you off. Seeing that he could not threaten Chengxian, Ning Duan could only turn his attention to Ning Haolan. In his opinion, as the young master of the Ning family, Ning Haolan should at least care about his face. However, he was wrong because Ning Haolan did not take him seriously at all. Ning Haolan laughed before he slowly spoke. Who are you talking about? As he spoke, Ning Haolan's eyes were on Chengxian. It's her. They're outsiders. After a long while, Ning Duan pointed at Lung Ruoxue and said. Not only was Ning Haolan stunned by his words, but even Cheng Xian, who had already mentally prepared himself, was also stunned. He had thought that Ning Duan would say that the outsider was him. Who knew that he would actually bite Lung Ruoxue? Could it be that Lung Ruoxue's strength was too low? However, she was still the goddaughter of the Ning family's ancestor. Compared to him, she was not an outsider, right? Chapter 1540. The Terrified Ning Duan 1. I'm really an outsider. Lung Ruoxue's beautiful eyes looked at Ning Duan as she spoke with a smile that was not a smile. However, her smile was like a flower, causing Ning Duan's heart to race wildly and his heart to tremble with fear. His heart was beating extremely fast, but it was also filled with fear. He could not even speak. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue took out a black whip from her bangle. The whip was as thick as a baby's arm, and it was covered with tiny spikes. Occasionally, a cold light would flash across the whip. After she took out the whip, she flicked it into the air a few times. The crisp papa sound broke through the air, causing the already trembling Ning Duan to feel even more terrified. You. What do you want to do? Don't mess around. Ning Duan stammered as he looked at the black whip. In addition, no matter how he looked at it, he felt that the whip was very familiar, as if he had seen it before. I won't mess around. Besides, I've always done whatever I want. Lung Ruoxue laughed evilly as her beautiful eyes glimmered. She glanced at Ning Duan and said, I guess this whip was picked up by me. This was because the whip belonged to Ning Xie. Although she didn't like women who used whips to hit people, she wanted to try it out today, and Ning Duan was her test subject. Speaking of which, Ning Duan was quite unlucky. Previously, she had used him to test the soul-forgetting technique, and now, she was using him to test the whip. However, he only had himself to blame. Who asked him to provoke her for no reason? At the thought of this, Lung Ruoxue raised the long whip in her hand and drew a beautiful arc in the air, striking straight towards Ning Duan's body. Oh, help me! The whip lashed out, causing Ning Duan, who had been tormented for the past few days, to wail in pain. The sound was so miserable that anyone who heard it would feel sad, and those who saw it would shed tears. Unfortunately, the people in front of him had hearts of stone. No one would plead for him, much less cry. I've only whipped you once and you're already howling? Are you still a man? Lung Ruoxue said with a look of disdain. The whip in her hand made a paw-paw sound as it struck Ning Duan's body without any restraint. Arg! You vicious woman, I won't let you off. Ning Duan, who had nowhere to hide, forcefully endured the pain in his body and roared. At this moment, the wounds on his body were even more shocking, and blood was flowing down from the whip marks. You said I'm vicious? Then I'll show you how vicious I am. Lung Ruoxue said coldly. Other than lashing the whip at Ning Duan, she took out a small jade bottle from her bracelet. The jade bottle was filled with itching powder. After opening the bottle, Lung Ruoxue poured half of the bottle of itching powder onto Ning Duan without hesitation. When Grape and Lotus Seed saw Lung Ruoxue's actions, their hearts were filled with sympathy for Ning Duan. What a pitiful guy. You're going to suffer this time. You can provoke anyone, but why did you have to provoke her young miss? Don't look at how her young miss' strength was low. But she had many ruthless methods of torturing people. Ning Haolan and Cheng Xian, who had also seen what Lung Ruoxue had done, did not know what she had thrown at her. However, they were well aware that it was definitely not something fun. In just a few seconds, Ning Duan's pain was replaced by an itch. The itch came so quickly that he had no time to react. His body started to twist and turn. The whip in Lung Ruoxue's hand landed on his body like raindrops. However, the itch and pain on his body had been reduced by a little. Arg! So comfortable. Again. Use more strength. Ning Duan wriggled his body as he shouted. Compared to the pain, the itch was even more unbearable. Thus, Lung Ruoxue's whip had instead become the best help to alleviate the itch on his body. However, after hearing his words, Lung Ruoxue lost the mood to hit him. She put away the whip in her hand and crossed her arms over her chest. She looked down at Ning Duan from above, clearly not planning to fight anymore. Hit me. Quickly hit me. When Ning Duan saw that Lung Ruoxue didn't move for a long time, he couldn't help but start to plead. His submissive manner also made everyone look at him. Cheng Xian and the others looked at Ning Duan with dumbfounded expressions and were speechless. What was he trying to do? He had completely disgraced the Ning family. If the Ning family found out about this, Ning Duan would be spurned by his clansmen. However, Lung Ruoxue, who had beaten him up, would probably become the target of public criticism. You're really cheap. Lung Ruoxue's beautiful face was filled with disdain. Suddenly, an idea flashed through her mind, and she spoke again. If you tell me who gave you the soul-crushing grasp, I'll continue to hit you. How about it? Lung Ruoxue and Ning Duan discussed their conditions. At the same time, she felt a little depressed. Why didn't she think of using this method earlier? In fact, she couldn't be blamed for this. After all, she was living in the Ning family, and her godfather was the Ning family's ancestor. Therefore, she naturally didn't think of using extreme means to achieve her goal. As for now, it was just a passing thought. I don't know what you're talking about. Ning Duan played dumb. Although his body was in pain and itching, his mind was still clear. Hence, when he heard Lung Ruoxue's question, he subconsciously avoided it. You don't know? Grape, lotus seed, I'm tired. I'll leave him to you. With that, Lung Ruoxue turned around and left the cave without hesitation. Ning Haolan and Cheng Xian quickly followed after her. After they left the cave, Ning Haolan hesitated for a moment, but he still couldn't help but ask, "Do you want to extort a confession from Xing Sun?" He was a little worried. If the Ning clan knew that Ning Duan was treated like this, Lung Ruoxue would be in trouble. Even if old Grand Madam was protecting her, she could not disappoint the clan. Did I? I'm just negotiating with him. Lung Ruoxue chuckled and agreed. He was negotiating terms with Ning Duan. Ning Duan wanted her to hit him, and she wanted Ning Duan to tell her where the forgotten soul came from. How could this be a confession? This was clearly a matter of mutual consent. If Ning Duan did not want to say it, she would naturally not force him. Ning Haolan was stunned after hearing Lung Ruoxue's words. He laughed bitterly in his heart. She was right. This was not a confession because Lung Ruoxue did not force Ning Duan to tell her where the forgotten soul came from. However, if Ning Duan did not tell her, Lung Ruoxue probably would not have hit him anymore. She would have used other methods to torture him, and he believed that those methods would be more unbearable than physical pain. Don't worry, he won't die. I'll keep him alive. Lung Ruoxue glanced at Ning Haolan and said indifferently, "That's good." Ning Haolan nodded helplessly. He did not want to comment on this matter because Lung Ruoxue would not listen to him. Great aunt, you've tortured Ning Duan to this state. If he returns to the Ning family and betrays you, you'll be in great trouble. Cheng Xian couldn't help but remind her. His face was still filled with caution. To be honest, he was a little frightened because Lung Ruoxue's methods were simply unheard of to him. Although he had lived in the Cheng family, one of the 8 great divine regions, since he was a child, if someone in the family made a mistake, they would be punished directly. Even when dealing with the enemy, there was no such torture. After seeing the scene just now, his little heart was still trembling nonstop. Chapter 1541. The terrified Ning Duan too. Don't be afraid. I have an amnesia pill. I'll give him one before we go back to the Ning family, and he'll forget everything. Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. Great aunt. You're amazing. Although this was the first time he had heard of the memory loss pill, he could tell from the name that it was a pill that could make people lose their memories. However, if Ning Duan lost all his memories and returned to the Ning family, he would not be able to recognize anyone anymore. Wouldn't Ning Haolan, who had ordered the guards to keep him in custody, also be implicated? As he thought of this, he could not help but glance at Ning Haolan. As if she could read Cheng Xian's mind, Lung Ruoxue smiled and explained. The memory loss pill will only cause a person to lose part of his memory. In other words, after taking the memory loss pill, he will not remember everything we have done to him these days. Moreover, his memory will stop at the time when we brought him out of the Ning family. So you don't have to worry. There's actually such a miraculous pill. Cheng Xian's face was filled with disbelief. Even Ning Haolan had never heard of such a pill before. Of course. Lung Ruoxue chuckled and nodded. These random pills were all collected by her master over the years. Then can you give me a few? Cheng Xian said with a flattering smile. After knowing about this pill, his heart was itching. No problem, he said. Lung Ruoxue was very generous. She then took out a small jade bottle from her bracelet and said to Ning Haolan and Cheng Xian, "You guys take it and split it. If you do something bad in the future, if you don't want anyone to know, just give the other party a memory loss pill. I guarantee that he won't remember anything." Cheng Xian laughed awkwardly because Lung Ruoxue had spoken his mind. He had indeed thought that way and kept the pill just in case. After the two of them had divided the bottle of memory loss pills, the howls from the cave became louder and louder. The two of them felt their blood run cold, and their hearts tremble. However, they were also curious as to what the grapes and the lotus seeds were doing. Although they really wanted to find out what was going on, neither of them had the courage to do so. However, the two of them had a tacit understanding and listed Lung Ruoxue as one of the people they could not afford to offend. This woman's methods were too cruel. They were so scared. After a long time, Grape walked out of the cave and said to Lung Ruoxue indignantly, "Miss, that good-for-nothing actually fainted. What should we do? You're still being stubborn?" Lung Ruoxue raised her brows and asked indifferently. "Yes, I am." Grape nodded. "He's got a backbone, wake him up. Then continue." As Lung Ruoxue spoke, she took out a bottle of pills from her bangle and passed it to Grape. The pills in the bottle were for healing. She did not want Ning Duan to die so easily. Yes, Grape happily took the jade bottle, turned around, and went back into the cave. After that, the howls in the cave did not stop. Occasionally they would stop, but they would soon start again. 2 days later, Ning Duan, who couldn't bear the torture anymore, finally decided to relent. When Lung Ruoxue heard the news, she walked into the cave with Ning Haolan and Cheng Xian. When she saw Ning Duan, who was covered in wounds and looked haggard, she smiled and said, "You're finally willing to negotiate with me. If only you were this tactful earlier." After hearing Lung Ruoxue's slightly grumbling words, Ning Haolan and Cheng Xian could not help but feel a few black lines forming on their foreheads. "Aren't you shooting at the mouth after the fact?" they thought. They didn't think that Lung Ruoxue would be kind enough to let Ning Duan off after he revealed the origin of the forgotten soul. "After I tell you, you can just kill me. Don't torture me." In his eyes, Lung Ruoxue and the others were the incarnations of the devil. He did not even dare to have the slightest thought of resisting. He was so regretful. How could he have provoked this devil? "The Ning family won't let me go after I kill you." Lung Ruoxue reminded him calmly. Then what do you want?" Lung Ruoxue's words made Ning Duan's tensed heart clench again. "First, tell me the origin of the forgotten soul. If I'm satisfied with your answer, I'll decide what kind of treatment I'll give you." Lung Ruoxue chuckled as she coaxed. "All right then." Ning Duan could see that he was now meat on the other person's anvil. The other person could do whatever he wanted, and he had no room to negotiate. It would have been better if you had been so obedient earlier. You would have suffered less pain. Lung Ruoxue sighed. Her words made Ning Duan feel a little angry. However, he did not dare to talk back to Lung Ruoxue now, in case these 3 terrifying women did something like this again. If that happened, he would really die. "The one who made me forget my soul was 5th Miss." After a pause, Ning Duan spoke. "Ningxi." Lung Ruoxue's brows twitched as she asked in a cold tone. Ning Haolan's expression changed when he heard the name. Although he returned to normal very quickly, Lung Ruoxue still caught him. "Yes." Ning Duan nodded. "She gave you the soul forgetfulness, so that you could give it to Ning Shan?" Lung Ruoxue continued to ask. "Yes, she said that I might not be Ning Shan's match, so she asked me to be prepared. She also said that if I could defeat Ning Shan, she would. Ning Duan could not finish his sentence because the gazes of these people in front of him were too terrifying. He was so scared. "Will you repay me with your body?" Lung Ruoxue laughed coldly. "How did you know?" Ning Duan hurriedly asked in shock. "Of course I'm just guessing. But do you really believe her?" Lung Ruoxue was a little speechless. Why couldn't any man escape the schemes of a beauty? Furthermore, this Ning Duan was really too brainless. How could Ning Shi or have taken a fancy to him? That woman's heart was big. Ning Duan was at a loss for words. In that situation, he had long been mesmerized by her beauty, so how could he have cared about the truth of Ning Xie's words? He couldn't wait to please Ning Shi. Of course, he wouldn't have thought so much about it. However, now that he thought about it, Ning Xie's words were very likely to be coaxing. But so what? He had already betrayed Ning Xie. If Ning Xie found out, she would definitely not be nice to him. Therefore, he was destined to never have Ning Xie. What else did Ning Xie say to you? Lung Ruoxua asked again. She also told me to pay attention to Ning Hai. If Ning Hai and I had a chance to fight, she also told me to use the soul-forgetting technique. Seeing Lung Ruoxia's unfriendly expression, Ning Duan asked carefully, "There's still more?" Lung Ruoxua suppressed the anger in her heart and said, "No, I'm telling the truth. Why, you can let me go." Ning Duan said pitifully. He was truly afraid. "Let you go?" Lung Ruoxua looked at Ning Duan with a smile that was not a smile. Initially, she had planned to give Ning Duan a memory loss pill to make him lose this part of his memory. However, she had changed her mind now. She wanted Ning Duan to remember the events of the past few days forever. He would not be able to forget even if he wanted to. She wanted to let the events of the past few days become a nightmare in Ning Duan's heart. This could be considered his punishment for helping the evildoer. Chapter 1542, The Terrified Ning Duan 3. I won't let you off. Lung Ruoxia's voice was faint, but her words were like a curse to Ning Duan. It made him feel fear, and his face was pale. Just kill me. Don't torture me. Ning Duan cried bitterly, his originally tall body curled up in a corner, trembling. I said I won't kill you, but don't think you'll have a good time. Lung Ruoxua laughed coldly, her beautiful eyes glancing at Ning Haolan as she continued. I want you to recognize him as your master and follow his lead from now on. Not only was Ning Duan stunned by her words, but even Ning Haolan found it unbelievable. Ning Haolan looked at Lung Ruoxua in confusion. He could not figure out what she meant. Oh, Ning Duan should be considered her captive, right? However, she had actually asked Ning Duan to let him be the master. Why did this sound so mysterious? I want you to acknowledge him as your master. Lung Ruoxua repeated with a faint smile. Actually, she was returning the favor by doing this. After all, Ning Haolan had given her the green light for using Ning Duan to test the medicine. And she was a person who knew how to repay kindness. Since she had no intention of killing Ning Duan, why not do him a favor? You're not willing? Lung Ruoxua looked at the stunned Ning Duan and said coldly, No. However, he is the young master of the Ning family, so I will definitely follow his lead. Ning Duan said softly. He knew that Lung Ruoxua had no intention of killing him, nor would she torture him. In fact, she even wanted him to acknowledge Ning Haolan as his master. After knowing this, his thoughts started to wander again. And the meaning behind his words was clear. There was no need for him to acknowledge Ning Haolan as his master. No matter if you want to follow his lead, or if you want to follow his orders on the surface, you have to acknowledge him as your master. Lung Ruoxua said without any room for discussion. However, she could not help but sneer in her heart. If they didn't recognize him as their master, was that still a punishment? Did he really think that he was fine? If it were not for her godfather, Ning Duan probably would have died long ago. As a result, she would not allow Ning Duan to refuse. Ning Duan lowered his head and did not respond. Upon seeing this, Grape kicked him fiercely. Why are you acting dumb? Didn't you hear what my young miss said? Hurry up and recognize me as your master. Don't waste everyone's time. Ning Duan, who had been kicked, rolled on the ground twice before crawling back up in a sorry state. Although he was extremely dissatisfied, he did not dare to make a sound. He looked at Ning Haolan with an aggrieved expression before unwillingly kneeling in front of him, ready to acknowledge him as his master. Remember to take a blood oath. Lung Ruoxua reminded him impolitely. Yes. Ning Duan nodded gloomily, then made a blood oath. With the rules of the contract in place, he had officially become Ning Haolan's servant. Master. After the contract's rules disappeared, Ning Duan continued to kneel with a face full of respect. His life was now in Ning Haolan's hands, so he did not dare to get up unless Ning Haolan said something. Get up. Ning Haolan glanced at Ning Duan indifferently before turning to look at Lung Ruoxue. He could not understand what Lung Ruoxue was trying to do. If she wanted to punish Ning Duan, she would have taken him in as her servant. However, she had pushed Ning Duan to him. Why do you want me to take in this servant? After some thought, Ning Haolan asked the question that had been on his mind. Because I don't like him. However, with him in your hands, you'll have an extra spy in the Ning family. He can be considered my reward. Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. Actually, the reason why Ning Haolan had accepted Ning Duan as his servant was partly because of her godfather. Then he'll thank you in advance. Ning Haolan said helplessly. He understood what Lung Ruoxue meant. There's no need to thank me, we're both taking what we need. Lung Ruoxue did not think much of it. Yes, I am. Ning Haolan nodded and continued. Let's go back to the main house. She couldn't find him these few days, so who knew what had happened in the main residence? You have to let your servant wash up first. Lung Ruoxue looked at the disheveled Ning Duan and kindly reminded him. Yes. Ning Haolan glanced at Ning Duan and nodded in agreement. Ning Duan was currently covered in dirt and was injured, so he really could not return to the main residence like this. Afterwards, Ning Haolan brought Ning Dan to a nearby stream and gave him a healing pill. He then ordered him to wash up and change his clothes. After everything was done, Ning Haolan and the others returned to the Ning family's main residence. As soon as he entered the main residence, a guard informed Ning Haolan to invite him in on behalf of the master and the elders. Cheng Xian, take them back to Lan Garden first. I'll be right back. Ning Haolan said. Then be careful. Cheng Xian was a little worried, because he knew that nothing good would come out of those old foxes wanting to see Hao Lan. Otherwise, they wouldn't have sent people to wait at the door. I know, Ning Haolan nodded, then strode towards the meeting hall. At this time the meeting hall was in a mess. In the middle of the hall, a couple was crying and making a fuss. They kept howling and asking for their son to be returned. On the other hand, the acting family head, Ning Yuan, sat in the main seat with a dark face. He stared coldly at the couple who were making a scene and felt extremely depressed. Some of the elders present did not look too good either. This was because the couple had been fighting for a few days, and they could not find the culprit behind it. Ning Haolan had just walked into the meeting hall when he saw this unreasonable scene. His face immediately turned stern and he shouted, "What are you guys howling about? This is a meeting hall, not a place for you to make a scene." Ning Haolan's loud voice caused quite a stir in the boisterous meeting hall. At the same time, it attracted everyone's attention. In an instant, everyone's eyes were focused on him. As for the couple who were throwing a tantrum, they were first stunned when they heard his roar. When they finally came to their senses, they rushed to Ning Haolan's side and questioned him loudly. "Where's our son? Where did you put my Duan her?" Ning Haolan was the young master of the Ning family, and the heir handpicked by the old ancestor. He held a high position in the family, so no matter how much they were unhappy with him, they did not dare to vent their anger on him. They did not even dare to have any physical contact with him, lest they be accused of being in the wrong. In fact, they had already crossed the line by questioning him, but they did not think so in their hearts. He's very good. However, you can't see him yet. Ning Duan was his servant and had taken a blood oath, so he was not afraid that Ning Duan would betray him. Besides, he felt that Lung Ruoxue's decision was very wise. She must have expected that he would encounter such a situation. He's our son. Why can't we see him? Ning Duan's father asked in disbelief. He had not seen Duan for many days, so he was afraid that his child was no longer in this world. He only had one son, so when he suspected this possibility, the couple had gone to find the acting patriarch and the elders without any care, asking them to make a decision. Chapter 1543. The competition continues. 1. Don't you know why we can't see him? He actually dared to use the forgotten soul in the family competition. Before this matter is investigated clearly, no one is allowed to see him. Ning Haolan said coldly, "There's no evidence that my son used the soul forger. Moreover, everyone knows that you were the only one who used the soul forger before the start of the competition. I want to say that you used the soul forger." Hearing Ning Haolan's words, Ning Duan's mother immediately yelled, "Me? I didn't take part in the family competition this time, so what's the use of using the forgotten soul? Besides, do you think I'll need soul forgetting with my strength? Or are you trying to say that I'm the one who got the soul forgetfulness for your son?" Ning Haolan raised his eyes slightly and looked at the woman before him as he retorted indifferently. This, Ning Duan's mother was speechless. Ning Haolan looked at the couple in front of him, who were still unwilling to give up, and said in a clear voice, "Acting patriarch, elders, I know that you have a lot of questions and dissatisfaction about this matter, but everything I've done is for the clan, so I have a clear conscience. If you don't trust me, I can hand Ning Duan over to you to watch over, and I can also not interfere in this matter. In addition, if you think I'm the greatest suspect, it's fine to watch me, but what I want to say is that this matter must be investigated to the core, no matter who did it. We can't tolerate this, we must punish the culprit." Ning Haolan's words of justice stirred up the majority of the elders present. Very quickly an elder chimed in. "Young master is right. We must investigate this matter clearly. No matter who the culprit is, we can't let go of anyone who dares to harm innocent clansmen. Right? We can't let him go." All the elders hurriedly said. Ning Haolan looked up in satisfaction at the situation he had created, and sat down in his seat. Seeing this and hearing the words of some of the elders, Ning Duan's parents naturally did not dare to pester Ning Haolan before they caught up to him. However, they were not willing to give up on their son before they had even seen him. Thinking up to this point, Ning Duan's parents sent a pleading look to the 19th elder. The 19th elder had wanted to pretend that he did not see it, but Ning Duan's mother was afraid that he would just leave it be, so she directly knelt in front of him and cried, "Old ancestor, you have to stand up for my Duan. It's been so many days, I don't even know if Duan is dead or alive." She cried nonstop as she spoke, causing 19th elder to feel extremely vexed. 19th elder, who originally wanted to ignore it, saw that the younger generation of his own line had made it so clear. If he pretended to be confused, it would not only be a problem of him letting it go, but also related to his face, which he cared about the most. Therefore he had to take the lead. Substitute clan head, although the actions of these two children are a little rude, they are doing this out of their love for their son. I hope that substitute clan head and the elders can understand. The 19th elder stood up and said to Ning Yuan, and the other elders helplessly. He was being polite before resorting to force. He stood up and apologized on their behalf so that the young master and the acting family head would not hold on to them for this matter. However, no one responded after he finished speaking. Many people seemed to be waiting for him to continue. Seeing this, 19th elder couldn't help but curse in his heart. What a bunch of old foxes. Acting patriarch, they haven't seen Duan in a long time. Since Duan is only a suspect, can you let them see him first? The 19th elder continued in a negotiating tone. Ning Yuan did not agree immediately after hearing the 19th elder's words. Instead, he turned to look at Ning Haolan. It was obvious that he wanted to seek his opinion. After all, he was the one who had sent people to watch over Ning Duan. You want to see Ning Duan? I have no objections. Ning Haolan picked up the cup of tea on the table and said indifferently, "What do you think, elders?" Ning Yuan then looked at the elders present and said, "We don't have any objections either. It's normal for parents to want to see their son. Why would we stop them?" The second elder looked around and spoke on behalf of all the elders. Seeing that there were no more objections, Ning Haolan called for his personal attendant and ordered him to bring Ning Duan to the meeting hall. He originally had two attendants with him. One was the escaped Ning Wen, and the other was Ning Wu. The two of them were a pair of partners, and one of his confidants. Unfortunately, Ning Wen had betrayed him, which made him a little depressed. Therefore, in recent days he had been lukewarm to Ning Wu. Ning Wu knew that his master was taking his anger out on him, but he could do nothing about it. However, as long as his master was willing to use him, he would do his best. As a result, even though he did not know what his master had been doing these past few days, he had been keeping an eye out for any movements in the Ning family. As such, after receiving Ning Howland's orders, he immediately headed to the land garden and brought Ning Duan to the meeting hall. On the way, he had also warned Ning Duan to be careful of what he said. As soon as Ning Duan stepped into the meeting hall, his parents immediately pounced on him. Ning Duan felt a little frightened by their actions, and his eyes involuntarily darted to Ning Howlan. However, Ning Howlan remained unmoved, not even lifting an eyelid. He couldn't help but cry out bitterly in his heart, afraid that he had said the wrong thing. Duan, mother finally sees you. Are you well? Did you suffer? Ning Duan's mother sized up her precious son, her mouth constantly asking about his well-being. Mother, I'm fine, don't worry. Ning Duangson's heart trembled, afraid that her parents would say something they shouldn't. Is it really good? Ning Duan's father did not quite believe it, and his eyes kept sweeping over his son. He only had one son. Father, mother, I'm really good. Other than the lack of freedom, I eat well and sleep well. Ning Duan was on the verge of tears. He didn't dare tell anyone that he had been mistreated. Those women were far too terrifying. Just thinking about what he had gone through in the past few days made his heart tremble, and his legs go weak. What he had gone through in the past few days was like a nightmare for the rest of his life. He would never be able to get rid of it. However, he didn't dare to tell anyone. After all, Ning Howlan was his master now. That's good. That's good. Ning Duan's parents were finally at ease. At this moment, Ning Howlan had finished his tea as well. He spoke slowly. You've seen her, so can you rest assured now? Don't worry. Ning Duan's parents braced themselves and said, their hearts still beating like drums. They had made a scene earlier mainly because they wanted to see their son. Now that they had seen him, there was naturally no reason for them to make a scene. However, they were a little afraid instead, because they were afraid that Ning Howlan would come and settle the score. Since you're relieved, I'll tell you the arrangements for the future. I will definitely get to the bottom of this matter, so Ning Duan can't be released yet. However, I won't lock him up again. He'll stay by my side for the time being. As for you, not only did you question my decision, but you also made a big fuss in the meeting hall. This has already violated the rules of the Ning family. You'll be punished to work in Bien City for a year. Of course, if you perform well, you can also be exempted from your punishment in advance. Ning Howlan stated his decision in a soft voice. As soon as he said this, Ning Duan's parents immediately shriveled up like frost-beaten eggplants. Although Ning Duan's heart ached for his parents, he did not have the courage to plead for mercy on their behalf. After all, he was now a scapegoat. Chapter 1544. The competition continues too. Young master. Although their actions were a little inappropriate, they were also out of love for their son. Young master, isn't it a little too much to punish them to work in Bien City for a year? The 19th elder couldn't help but ask. This couple were the descendants of his bloodline. As the saying goes, you have to look at the owner before you hit the dog. As such, in his opinion, Ning Howlan's decision to banish his descendants to Bianqing was a slap to his face. Bianqing wasn't a good place to live in, not to mention its remote terrain. The living conditions there were also extremely harsh. However, that was the place where the Ning family exiled its clansmen for their wrongdoings. At the same time, the Ning family owned 2 crystal mines there. So after being sent there, they had to adapt to the climate there and work in the mines for a year. Such a punishment was already considered heavy for the direct family members. However, he didn't want to fall out with Ning Howlan over such a small matter, so even though he was displeased, he still spoke in a relatively gentle tone. It's only been a year. Can't they bear this little bit of suffering? 19th elder, the family has its own rules and regulations. If they don't work for a year in Bien City, do you have a better punishment, 19th elder? Ning Howlan said with a faint smile. The 19th elder was rendered speechless. What good plan could he have come up with? Ning Howlan would never agree to it. However, he was not willing to watch as his junior was sent to Bianqing to suffer. At that thought, he sneaked a glance at the elders sitting in front of him, hoping that they would speak up for him. However, The elders did not even look at him. Even the elders who were on good terms with him did not want to get involved in this matter. He couldn't help but feel a little angry, but there was nothing he could do. After all, he couldn't possibly offend the elders present just because of 2 descendants. Seeing that 19th elder had stopped speaking, Ning Yuan said firmly, "Since no one objects, well, do as young master says and send them to work in Bianqing for a year." After Ning Yuan finished speaking, he ordered the guards to take Ning Duan's parents away. When Ning Duan saw his parents being taken away, he was a little sad, but he did not dare to show it. After the farce in the meeting hall ended, Ning Haolan brought Ning Duan back to Land Garden. In Ning Haolan's study, he sat in his chair and looked at the panicked Ning Duan. He said with a faint smile, "What, you want to plead for your parents? I don't dare. Master's punishment for them is already considered light." Ning Duan lowered his head and said softly, "Do you really think so?" Ning Haolan asked indifferently, I have no dissatisfaction with master's punishment." Ning Duan quickly expressed his position. In truth, he did not dare to show any dissatisfaction. Who asked his life to be in the hands of others? Ning Duan, I want you to understand that if I don't punish your parents for offending their superiors, how will the public be convinced in the future? However, since you're my man now, I'll naturally take care of your parents. I'll inform the steward in Bianqing and have them arrange some easy work for your parents. A year's time will pass very quickly. If they perform well, I'll also let them return to the main city earlier." Ning Haolan promised. He was giving Ning Duan a sweet date after giving him a slap in the face. His main purpose was to appease Ning Duan's heart and make him loyal to him. "Thank you for your thoughtfulness, master." As expected, Ning Duan was very happy to hear Ning Haolan's words. "Master, why didn't you let me tell you the truth in the meeting hall just now?" Ning Duan couldn't help but ask after he was assured about his parents. "It's not the time yet," Ning Haolan sighed. "Master, 5th young lady, she..." Ning Duan had only spoken half a sentence before he immediately stopped. He had originally wanted to say that 5th young lady was master's younger sister, so master must be in a difficult position. However, he suddenly remembered that the relationship between his master and the 5th miss was not good. To a certain extent, his master even hated this sister. Although this was not a secret in the Ning family, no one dared to gossip in front of his master. "Don't mention her anymore. 2 days later, I'll send someone to send your parents to Bianqing. I'll give you 2 days off. Go and spend some time with them." Ning Haolan said after some thought. "Thank you, master." When Ning Duan heard that he could stay with his parents for 2 days, he was overjoyed. After bowing to Ning Haolan, he left the study. Looking at Ning Duan's back, he couldn't help but think of the Dark Tiger King's song that he had heard in Lung Ruoxia's house. "A child with a mother is like a treasure. A child without a mother is like a blade of grass." He was deeply touched now. Perhaps Ning Duan's status was not as high as his, but Ning Duan had his parents' love, while he had been alone since he was young. If it wasn't for his ancestors' love, it was hard to say whether he could have grown up safely. Putting away his sadness, Ning Haolan left the study and walked toward the garden. Cheng Xian was the only one in the garden. He sat on a stone chair, and the stone table in front of him was filled with all sorts of delicacies. He ate wildly without a care for his image, and Ning Haolan could not help but laugh when he saw this. If your admirers see their idol eating in such a manner, I wonder if they'll regret it. Ning Haolan teased before taking a seat across from Cheng Xian. Who has the time to care about what they think? Cheng Xian said nonchalantly as he gnawed on a large chicken leg in his hand. Where are Lung Ruoxia and the rest? Ning Haolan couldn't help but ask when he saw that Cheng Xian was alone. They've gone back, Cheng Xian said as he ate. Oh, Ning Haolan nodded. He did not know why, but he felt a little disappointed when Lung Ruoxia was not around. Are you done with your things? What's wrong? Cheng Xian asked again, not sensing anything unusual about Ning Haolan. Yes, I'm fine now. Ning Haolan nodded. Oh right. What do you plan to do with your troublesome sister? Cheng Xian asked curiously. What else can we do? Of course. We'll deal with him according to the clan rules. Ning Haolan replied honestly. What I mean is that if you want to deal with Ning I'm afraid you'll face some resistance. Cheng Xian said. He was a bystander, and he was a good friend of Ning Haolan's, so he naturally had to think a little more on his behalf. You mean uncle? Ning Haolan's head was throbbing. It was indeed difficult to deal with eldest uncle. If it weren't for him doting on Ning Xie all these years, how could a mere concubine's daughter like her be able to strut around in the Ning family's main residence? He can be considered one of them. However, if he knew about Ning Xie's past actions, I'm afraid he'd be extremely disappointed. The resistance I'm referring to is mainly those old fogies in your Ning family. They probably won't let go of such a good chess piece like Ning Xie. Cheng Xian said. In a family like theirs, unless it was a woman with extremely high talent, women were just pawns for marriage alliances. Furthermore, Ning Xie was extremely beautiful. Even if she made a mistake, in the eyes of some people, she would not be easily dealt with. However, he knew very well that Haolan was determined to kill Ning Xie, not just because she had done something wrong. Chapter 1545. The competition continues 3. Thank you for the reminder, but this time I won't let Ning Xie have a chance to make a comeback. Ning Haolan said coldly. He had been waiting for this day for a long time. How could he let go of such a good opportunity? If she has Lung Ruoxu's help, Ning Xie will definitely not be able to escape. Cheng Xian said with a smirk. I understand. She probably won't let Ning Xie off either. Ning Haolan nodded. Then, the two of them smiled at each other with a tacit understanding. After Lung Ruoxu left Land Garden, she did not return to her own residence. Instead, she went straight to Ning Shan's guest room. However, she saw an unexpected person in the guest room, Ning Yan. However, Ning Yan was not surprised to see Lung Ruoxu. The two of them nodded lightly. Then Lung Ruoxu took out a black elixir and handed it to Ning Hai, who was by the bed. Ning Hai took the pill and stuffed it into Ning Shan's mouth without thinking. Then his tiger-like eyes stared at Ning Shan on the bed. He did not ask what pill Ruoxu had given him because he believed that Ruoxu would not harm Ning Shan. Ning Shan's situation was also a little different from Ning Duan's. This was because Ning Shan had always been very quiet. Every day, other than eating and sleeping, he did not make any noise or drool. He also rarely spoke. However, from his clear eyes, one could see that something was not right, because Ning Shan was always very lost. You've refined the antidote to the soul-forgetting pill? Ning Yan came to Lung Ruoxu's side and asked softly. Yes. Lung Ruoxu nodded, then looked up at Ning Yan. Ning Yan was a famous tigress in the divine realm. She looked like she was in her early 30s. She was very beautiful and had a hot and sexy body. She was now a god-tier master. She had seen Ning Yan once on the divine mainland, but she did not get a good look at her. At that time, she had heard a lot about Ning Yan's reputation. Later, she heard that Ning Yan had caused her husband's death through domestic violence. She really knew nothing about this Ning Yan. However, a daughter who could get her godfather's love must have something extraordinary. As for Ning Yan's reputation, she didn't comment. After all, if she took it too seriously, she would be no different from a fool. Some things had to be seen with one's own eyes. Little sister is really amazing. I often hear father mention you. The number of times he talks about you in my ear makes me a little jealous. Ning Yan complimented him and said half-jokingly, Godfather's love is Ruoxu's good fortune. Lung Ruoxu said very politely. She was still not sure of Ning Yan's intentions, so she did not have any way to deal with it. She could only deal with it as it came. Younger sister is indeed likable. It is normal for father to like you. Ning Yan said with a smile. Lung Ruoxu did not know how to reply to her. Coincidentally, Ning Shan had woken up and helped Lung Ruoxu out of her predicament. Brother. Big sister Ruoxu, what's wrong with me? Where was this place? I'm in the middle of a competition, right? Ning Shan looked at the unfamiliar environment he was in, and was still a little lost. Shan, you're injured, so we're still in the main residence. Ning Hai explained with a smile. What about the competition? Do I still have a chance? Ning Shan had no memory of what had happened after he was injured, so he was a little anxious. Don't worry. The competition has been suspended. Ning Yan said. Young miss. What are you doing here? Seeing Ning Yan, Ning Shan could not help but feel a little terrified. If little sister Ruoxue can be here, why can't I be here? Leng Yan said angrily. Ning Shan was in a difficult position. Could he say that he was close to sister Ruoxue, but not to Ning Yan? Furthermore, Ning Yan was the eldest daughter of the Ning family. In his heart, she had always been a high and mighty figure. Although sister Ruoxue was also the goddaughter of the old ancestor, he still felt very close to her. Shana, you've just recovered from your injury, so don't think too much. You still have a chance in the game. Leng Ruoxue could see Ning Shan's awkwardness and helped him to change the topic. I won't be careless anymore. Ning Shan said, a little embarrassed. Don't think about that. Your task now is to rest. Leng Ruoxue gave a half command, then gave Ning Shan a few more instructions before she got up and left. Ning Yan left with her. Leng Ruoxue brought the grapes and lotus out of the courtyard, and was about to part ways with Ning Yan, who knew that before she could speak, Ning Yan would say, I'm going to see father, so I'll go with you. Hearing Ning Yan's words, Leng Ruoxue couldn't refuse and could only nod. However, she was a little depressed because she didn't understand what this eldest miss of the Ning family wanted to do. Why did she have to cling on to her? However, she could tell that Ning Yan had no ill intentions towards her, so she naturally didn't think of using her mind-reading ability to read Ning Yan's mind. The two of them walked side by side at the front. Ning Yan kept trying to find a topic to talk about while Leng Ruoxue answered her questions. If Ning Yan did not ask, Leng Ruoxue would not take the initiative to speak. Just like that, they slowly walked to the forbidden area at the back of the mountain. When they arrived at Master Ning's courtyard, Leng Ruoxue had no intention of going in with Ning Yan. However, Ning Yan seemed to have read her mind and took the initiative to invite her. Little sister Ruoxue, come with me to see father. If he knows that you've refined the antidote to the soul-forgetting pill, he'll definitely be very happy. Yes. Leng Ruoxue nodded unwillingly. Then Ning Yan held her arm and pulled her into Master Ning's courtyard. As soon as they reached the garden, they saw Master Ning and the first elder playing chess on the stone chairs in the garden. Ning Yan quickly called out, Father, we're here to see you. Master Ning looked up when he heard Ning Yan's voice. However, when he saw Leng Ruoxue beside her, he immediately smiled. Shuer, you're finally out. How's the production of the antidote for the soul-forgetting pill? Father, don't you see my existence? Don't be so fickle in love with the new. Ning Yan saw that she was being ignored by her own father, and she was angry and amused at the same time. Of course, she was also a little jealous. I see it. How can I not see Yan? The master of the Ning family said awkwardly. In fact, his attention was all on Leng Ruoxue, who was listening to the conversation between the father and daughter, tried her best to reduce her presence. She did not want to be jealous of Ning Yan and treat herself as an imaginary enemy. After all, women's jealousy was unreasonable. However, Master Ning obviously did not plan to let her go. After dealing with Ning Yan, he looked at Leng Ruoxue expectantly. Shuer, you haven't answered me yet. Godfather, I've already made the antidote for the soul-forgetting pill and fed it to Ning Shan. Leng Ruoxue replied helplessly. Chapter 1546. The beautiful Dolphin Man that was caught. 1. Really? You're not coaxing me, are you? It's only been a few days and you've already made it? Master Ning said in disbelief, and the great elder's face was also full of disbelief. Yes. Leng Ruoxue nodded and passed Master Ning a bottle of the soul-forgetting antidote that she had concocted herself. Godfather, you can find someone to try it on. I'll go back and rest first. After Leng Ruoxue finished speaking, she turned around and left. When the master of the Ning family heard her words, he hurriedly called Ning Yan over and ordered him to go to the prison and bring out a prisoner who had taken the soul-forgetting pill. After trying it out, the master of the Ning family was overjoyed. The great elder had been developing the antidote for the soul-forgetting pill for a long time, but there had been no progress. Now that his goddaughter had made it, he was honored. After seeing the effects, he immediately went to look for Lung Ruoxue. Lung Ruoxue did not expect her godfather to come looking for her so quickly. She was helpless. Shui, can you give me a portion of the soulless antidotes formula? The master of the Ning family said, a little embarrassed. Godfather, doesn't your Ning family often use this forget soul on members who make mistakes? What does it matter if we have the antidote or not? Lung Ruoxue was confused. That's true, but since we've refined the antidote to the soul-forgetting pill, our Ning family naturally has to keep a portion of it. Master Ning explained. Oh, Lung Ruoxue finally understood. So Godfather wanted to save it. Knowing her godfather's intentions, Lung Ruoxue took out the prescription of the soul-forgetting antidote and handed it to Master Ning. The master of the Ning family glanced at the formula in his hand and put it into his storage ring. Then he said, Shui, since Ning Shan is fine, the clan competition will continue in 3 days. But we haven't found out about the poisoning yet. Lung Ruoxue reminded. It's okay. The competition can go on as usual. We'll continue to investigate the poisoning incident. There's no delay in either. The master of the Ning family said disapprovingly. Yes. Lung Ruoxue nodded. Although she did not know if Ning Haolan had mentioned Ning Duan's confession to her godfather, since Ning Shan's injuries had been cured and Ning Haolan was investigating the poisoning incident, she naturally did not need to worry. For the next 3 days, Lung Ruoxue didn't step out of the house at all. However, Ning Yan became her regular customer. Ning Yan would report to her every afternoon and chat with her about everything. She even said that she wanted to be her guide and take her around the Ning family's divine territory. Lung Ruoxue found it hard to reject him and could only stall for time. Ning Yan seemed to be very serious. She even said that she would take her to the Ning family's divine realm after the clan competition. 3 days later, the clan competition that had been paused for a period of time started again as scheduled. Because of the accident in Ning Shan's and Ning Duan's last match, the acting clan head and clan elders decided to redo their matches after a discussion, while the others' matches would be normal. When Grape and Lotus Seed learned of this news, they were very indignant because they felt that this was unfair to Ning Shan. And that Ning Duan, he had clearly done something wrong. It was fine if he was not punished by the family, but they actually wanted him to compete again. It was really preposterous. They felt aggrieved for Ning Shan, and also regretted that they had not taught Ning Duan enough in the cave. Sitting in the audience seats of the third arena, Lung Ruoxue looked at the grapes and lotus seeds that were pouting. She could not help but laugh. What, are you guys still angry? Miss. I don't know what's wrong with the young master of the Ning family. He clearly knew that Ning Duan was the one who poisoned him, but he still allowed him to participate in the competition. This is outrageous. Grape said angrily. It's just that there's not enough evidence. If we don't let him participate in the competition, the 19th elder won't let this matter rest. Actually, from her point of view, it was not important whether Ning Duan participated in this internal competition or not. After all, Ning Duan's strength was not even ranked in the Ning family. After Ning Shan's poison was cured, it was no longer within her concern when Ning Duan and Ning Xier would be punished by the family. Moreover, they had already punished Ning Duan. As for Ning Xier, it was only a matter of time. The 19th elder is really unreasonable. You're like a fly. Lianzi Xian said, feeling touched. In the past few days when she had been living in the Ning family, she had heard the name of the 19th elder a lot. Moreover, when the young lady had been brought into the main residence for questioning, the 19th elder seemed to have caused trouble for her. Miss, I heard that Ning Xier is young Master Ning's sister. Do you think he, Grape said worriedly. Although she did not finish her sentence, Lung Ruoxue immediately understood what she meant. Seeing Grape and Lotus Seed speaking one after another, Lung Ruoxue was at a loss whether to laugh or cry. Who did you hear this from? A guard of the Ning family told me. Miss, the young master of the Ning family actually hid this from us. What do you think he wants to do? Grape's face was full of doubt. Grape, don't doubt the person you use, and don't use the person you doubt. Ning Haolan didn't tell us about this probably, because he didn't think it was necessary. In other words, Ning Shi'er is nothing in his eyes, so let's not make wild guesses. Besides, if he really dares to protect Ning Shi'er, I won't let him off either. Lung Ruoxue gave it some thought and smiled. Then let's see how he performs. Grape nodded seriously. Her serious expression made Lung Ruoxue laugh. Ha ha. Grapes. You're getting more and more adorable. Lung Ruoxue stretched out her snow-white hand and touched her beautiful face as she teased. Miss, you're teasing me. Grape's face was flushed red as he said angrily. Hee hee. Lung Ruoxue laughed evilly. At this moment, the competition that had been paused for a while had officially started. Just as Lung Ruoxue had expected, this time, Ning Shan won without any suspense and entered the next round of the competition very smoothly. When the Ning family saw that Ning Shan was unscathed, they were also deeply surprised. This was because they had all known that Ning Shan had been affected by the soul-forgetting spell. However, looking at how energetic he was now, they knew that he was fine. Only a small number of people in the Ning family knew that Lung Ruoxue had refined the soul-forgetting antidote. Hence, when they saw Ning Shan, they could not help but whisper to each other. However, no matter how they reacted, they were not within Lung Ruoxue's scope of observation. As time passed, the preliminary round ended very quickly. After the preliminaries ended, a total of 500 clansmen of the Ning family entered the next stage of the competition. From the middle to the end of the competition, all the competitions would be held in the main arena. The strength of the participants in the preliminaries was quite different, so there was not much suspense. However, from the middle of the competition, there would be a real competition. Moreover, all the teams would not be divided according to age, but by drawing lots. Chapter 1547. The beautiful Dolphin Man caught too. After a 3-day break, the mid-stage of the competition officially began in the main arena. Lung Ruoxue sat on the VIP seats on the main stage, her beautiful eyes looking around. There were more people from the Ning family coming to watch the competition today than before. The entire competition ground was almost full of people. Moreover, the people who were participating in the competition were in high spirits, and it seemed like they were determined to win. Before the competition, she had specially gone to see Brother Ning and Ning Shan. Although Brother Ning had kept his emotions in check, she could see that Brother Ning was also holding back a breath in his heart. In addition to Ning Shan's accident, this competition was very important to Brother Ning. As for Ning Shan, he was still young, so his emotions could be seen on his face. However, he was quite confident. Seeing him like this, Lung Ruoxue was also relieved. Miss Lung is really amazing. You can actually make the antidote for the soul-forgetting pill. Our Ning family's great elder has been researching for so long and still couldn't make it, but you've made it in just a few days. At this moment, an enigmatic voice rang in Lung Ruoxue's ears. When Lung Ruoxue heard this, she lifted her beautiful eyes and looked at the owner of the voice. Isn't this the 19th elder? Long time no see. Lung Ruoxue greeted with a smile. As for what Elder 19 had said, she completely ignored it. Yup. Young Miss Lung is really amazing. Something that even our Grand Elder couldn't refine, you actually refined it in just a few days. 19th Elder could not help but ask when he saw Lung Ruoxue avoiding the important points and avoiding the trivial ones. I was just lucky. Lung Ruoxue said indifferently, ignoring the implied meaning behind 19th Elder's words. Yup. Our great elder doesn't have your luck, AI. It's really infuriating to compare. The 19th elder sighed, his face full of regret. 19th elder, are you feeling indignant for the great elder? Hearing his words, the head elder of the Craftsmen's Guild headquarters lifted his eyelids and said with a faint smile, I didn't expect the 19th elder to have such a good relationship with your Ning family's first elder. However, your family's first elder isn't here. So isn't your flattery a little redundant? Lung Ruoxue also laughed with a hint of mockery. You, 19th elder was so angry that he couldn't speak. Yes. He had wanted to sow discord between Lung Ruoxue and the Grand Elder. Furthermore, he had initially thought that after he had said those words, many elders would agree with him, who knew that no one would pay any attention to his words. Not only that, the person from the Armament Guild headquarters was even on the same side as Lung Ruoxue. He was really infuriated. What? AI? Why is there always such a person in this world? It's fine if he's not liked, but he always wants to jump out and isolate others. What if he meets someone with a bad temper one day and gets killed? Lung Ruoxue mumbled to herself. Miss, this kind of person deserves to be killed. Grape, who was standing at the side, quickly said, Young Miss Lung, your maidservant really doesn't know the rules. We are talking here. How can a maidservant have the right to interrupt? Lung Ruoxue and Grape's cooperation had infuriated 19th Elder. However, old Grandmadam was still here, so even if he was dissatisfied with Lung Ruoxue, he did not dare to criticize her. He could only vent his anger on Grape. However, Grape listened to his words and only glanced at him disdainfully, and did not look at him again. This made him extremely angry. Freedom of speech. Besides, I'm a very democratic master. Although Grape is just a maidservant, she has the right to speak. Lung Ruoxue said disapprovingly. Her words made Grape even more proud. She looked at the 19th Elder provocatively, not even bothering to hide the disdain in her eyes. A servant is a servant. How can young Lady Lung not distinguish between master and servant? The 19th Elder suppressed the anger in his heart, and said disapprovingly, Then Elder 19, please teach me. What is the difference between master and servant? Is it only by beating and scolding your subordinates all day long that you can show your dignity as a master? Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. At least as a servant, you have to have the rules of a servant. Someone like her, who casually interjects when the master is talking, is absolutely not allowed. 19th Elder thought for a moment, and pointed at the grapes. 19th Elder. She's my maidservant, so I'm the one who decides whether she's good or not. If others can't stand it, then it's like a dog taking a mouse to meddle in other people's business. Oh. Are you very free? Lung Ruoxue pointed at the mulberry and scolded the locust. How can I be free? I'm very busy. 19th Elder gritted his teeth as he cursed in his heart. That damned Lung Ruoxue, she actually called him a dog. However, if he knew that in Lung Ruoxue's heart, he was not even comparable to a dog, he would probably be even angrier. Then you should go back to your work. Don't waste your time here. Lung Ruoxue urged. Her words made Grape burst out in laughter, while 19th Elder's old face flushed red. The clan competition is of utmost importance to the Ning clan. How can I leave at will? 19th Elder's forehead broke out in cold sweat, as he tried to find an excuse for himself. However, the Ning family master's next words made him sink even deeper into darkness. It's fine. If 19th Elder has more important matters to deal with, he'll allow you to leave. I'm sorry, the master of the Ning family said indifferently. Although his words touched Lung Ruoxue's heart, 19th Elder felt very upset when he heard it. Old Grandmadam is helping an outsider to bully me, but I dare not say anything. Of course, I don't plan to leave just like that. Otherwise, I'll lose all my face. 19th Elder. I've already agreed for you to leave and attend to your own important matters, so why are you still sitting here? Lung Ruoxue reminded him kindly when she saw that 19th Elder had not moved for a long time. Nothing is more important than the clan competition. The 19th Elder forced a smile, and looked at the other elders with grievance. Unfortunately, no one was willing to speak up for him. In fact, the other elders all felt that the 19th Elder had brought this upon himself. The ancestor was still here. Why would he find trouble with Lung Ruoxue? Wasn't that a case of having nothing better to do? Then you can stay here obediently. The master of the Ning family glanced at the 19th Elder and said. He really didn't like the 19th Elder no matter how he looked at him now. How could the Ning family have such a junior? He had no eyesight at all. Yes. The 19th Elder replied in a low voice. The old ancestor had spoken, so how could he dare to disobey? Initially, he wanted to make Lung Ruoxue feel uncomfortable. Who knew that not only did he not get any advantage, he was even despised by the old Grandmadam. He was so depressed. As for the other elders who had the same thoughts as him, They naturally did not dare to speak up when they saw that 19th elder did not manage to gain any benefits from Lung Ruoxue. Without the annoying flies, Lung Ruoxue's ears quieted down and she could finally focus on the competition. Chapter 1548. The Dolphin Beauty Who Was Caught 3. At this moment, there were a total of 5 fighting rings in the main arena, and each ring was filled with pairs of people fighting each other. The level of the competition was obviously much higher than the preliminaries. However, Lung Ruoxue didn't know many people in the Ning family, so their competition didn't attract much interest from her. The middle stage of the competition was divided into 5 days, with 100 participants each day. The competition of Ning Shan and Ning Hai was on the 3rd and last day, respectively. Therefore, other than these 2 days, Lung Ruoxue was basically just a bystander. In fact, if it wasn't for her godfather, she would have gone back to her room to sleep. As if knowing that she was not in a good mood, Ning Yan came to her not long after the competition started. "Little sister Ruoxue, let's go outside for a walk," Ning Yan suggested softly in Lung Ruoxue's ear. Lung Ruoxue looked at Ning Yan and thought to herself, "This lady of the Ning family is really willful and reckless." At first, she was too embarrassed to leave, but since Miss Ning didn't care, why should she care? Glancing at the master of the Ning family, she nodded slightly. Then Ning Yan led her out of the Ning family's main residence. "Where do you want to take me?" Walking on the main city streets, Lung Ruoxue was rather curious. "I'll take you to catch some fish," Ning Yan said with a smile, her face full of pride. Lung Ruoxue wiped the cold sweat from her forehead, speechless. Ning Yan had brought her out of the Ning family just to catch fish? Why did this matter sound so unreliable? Even Grape and Lotus Seed, who were standing beside her, had a look of disbelief on their faces. "This isn't an ordinary fish, but it's not easy to catch either." Ning Yan's beautiful face was full of yearning. In fact, she was a little annoyed by Ning Xie's constant nagging of Lung Ruoxue, so she had pulled Lung Ruoxue out. "Where is this fish?" Lung Ruoxue's curiosity was piqued. However, seeing that they were about to leave the city, she really had no idea where Ning Yan was taking her. "There's a cold pond not far from the Ning family's main city. The fish are in there," Ning Yan said with a smile. The not far she was referring to was the distance from the Ning family's main city to there. It would take about half an hour to fly there. For the people of the Divine Realm, this was indeed not a long distance. Once they were out of the Ning family's main city, Ning Yan summoned her flying beast and gestured for Lung Ruoxue and the others to get on. Her flying beast was a beautiful white crane with no stray hair. It was a 7th level sacred beast, and looked a little arrogant. It even ignored Ning Yan, its master. When Lung Ruoxue saw this, she could not help but tease. "This beastie of yours seems to be a little narcissistic. It's not satisfied with me as its master," Ning Yan said helplessly. As a master who was despised by beastie, she felt very aggrieved. When they sat on the back of the red-crowned crane, as if to verify Ning Yan's words, it flew into the sky in a slightly rude manner. It even swayed a few times from time to time. However, the mischievous glint in its eyes did not escape Lung Ruoxue's eyes. "This bird's feathers are not bad. They're quite soft, and should be enough to make a blanket." Lung Ruoxue's soft and boneless little hand gently stroked the red-crowned crane's fur. Ning Yan heard Lung Ruoxue's words, and black lines appeared on her forehead. What did Lung Ruoxue mean? Could it be that he wanted to use Hier's feathers as a blanket? This can't do. How could she bear to? That red-crowned crane was called Hier. Lung Ruoxue's words were very loud, so it naturally heard them. However, it did not take it to heart because it was very clear that its master would not allow that weak woman to treat it this way. Upon hearing Lung Ruoxue's thoughts, Grape and Lotus Seed, the 2 maidservants immediately agreed. "Miss idea is great. The blanket made from the feathers of this red-crowned crane will definitely be warm and soft." Didn't Sister Yan want to give me a present? I don't want anything else, just give me some feathers from this bird." As Lung Ruoxue spoke, she reached out to the thickest feathers on Crane's back. The feathers there were dense and soft, and felt extremely good to the touch. "Little sister Ruoxue, this." Ning Yan was put in a difficult position. She did say that she wanted to give Lung Ruoxue a gift, but she had no intention of giving Crane's feathers. One should know that Crane's most precious thing was its snow-white and beautiful feathers. If she gave away Crane's feathers, he would hate her to death. However, Lung Ruoxue seemed to be very serious. So, for a moment, she did not know what to say. Sister Yan. It's settled then. Lung Ruoxue did not allow her to reject her and smiled. Following that, she turned to Grape and Lianzi and said, "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and help me pluck my fur." With that, she grabbed a bunch of Crane's thick feathers and pulled them out by the roots. In an instant, an earth-shattering shriek filled the air. Ah! Crane, whose feathers had been plucked, was trembling in pain. While it was still in the air, its huge body began to shake uncontrollably. Lung Ruoxue and the others could only hold on to its feathers tightly and pull them out as they did so, which made Ning Yan's heart ache. Crane's heart was filled with anger. It endured the pain in its body and descended. The moment it landed, it wanted to throw Lung Ruoxue and the others off its body. However, Lung Ruoxue and the others were already prepared and would not give it the chance. Instead, they seized the time and continued plucking its feathers. Seeing this, Ning Yan quickly pleaded for her. "Little Sister Ruoxue, don't pull it out. It hurts." "Sister Yan, don't worry. When I've pulled enough, I naturally won't pull anymore." Lung Ruoxue chuckled and gave Ning Yan a look, telling her to stay out of it. Ning Yan could tell that Lung Ruoxue was taking revenge for her. Even though her heart felt warm, the thought of her going to suffer still made her heart ache. However, she also wanted to see how Lung Ruoxue would discipline her, so she could only walk to the other side and stay there. Otherwise, she would definitely stop her. Seeing that Ning Yan had left, Lung Ruoxue and the other two picked up Crane's feathers even more unscrupulously. Although Crane wanted to resist, it could not shake off the three women on its back. This made it extremely angry. Crane could be seen flying up and down in the air, trying to get Lung Ruoxue and the other two off its back. With them around, it couldn't transform even if it wanted to. Furthermore, its back hurt so much that it was on the verge of tears. What was even more infuriating was that after Lung Ruoxue had pulled out enough feathers from its back, she had her eyes on the feathers on its neck. The feathers there were softer, but it was also more painful to pull them out. Having its feathers pulled out, he felt like dying. At the same time, he felt even more depressed. He was a dignified 7th-level sacred beast. Why couldn't he do anything to three humans who were weaker than him? It could not understand. Chapter 1549. The beautiful Dolphin Man caught. 4. The feathers on Lung Ruoxue, Grape, and Lotus Seed's hands flew up and down, floating in the air. Their movements were extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, a piece of feather on Hier's body had been cut off. However, the three of them had no intention of stopping, because Hier was not begging for mercy. After an unknown period of time, the exhausted Crane finally broke down. It cried and begged, "Oh, don't pluck my fur anymore. I was wrong." It was truly afraid. A dignified 7th-ranked Saint Divine beast was actually unable to do anything to three weak humans. If this were to spread out, no one would believe it. However, no matter how hard it tried, it still couldn't shake them off. So it could only give in. "Wrong? Where did you go wrong?" Lung Ruoxue lifted her beautiful eyes and smiled faintly. However, her hands did not stop moving. In fact, wherever she went, the feathers on Crane's body would leave. I shouldn't have looked down on you," Crane said softly. Tears were welling up in its black eyes, but it did not dare to cry. Its aggrieved look made one's heart ache. Unfortunately, other than its master, Lung Ruoxue and the other two did not care at all. Furthermore, its master was not in front of it. "There's still more?" Lung Ruoxue continued to ask. Her actions of plucking the feathers were as smooth as flowing water. "I shouldn't have given master such a bad attitude. I won't dare to do it again." Crane wasn't stupid. It was very clear why Lung Ruoxue would treat it like this. The reason why it didn't treat its master seriously, other than because of its master's low strength, was also because of its master's pampering. Unfortunately, even its master wasn't helping it anymore. Therefore, it could only lower its head to this demon. After all, This demon wouldn't care about it. It seems that you understand. As a beastie, you actually dare to show your master attitude. You really don't take your job well. Only Sister Yin indulges you. If it were me, I would have beaten you up long ago. Lung Ruoxue reprimanded. Hearing what she said, although he didn't say a word, he couldn't help but think in his heart, other than plucking hair. Do you know anything else? Do you think you can beat it into submission with your strength? It had lived for so long, but it had never heard of a puny middle-stage divine being able to beat a 7th-grade sacred beast into submission. However, it definitely did not dare to say this out loud. Furthermore, it had to put on an expression of humility as it was afraid that Lung Ruoxue would continue to pluck its feathers. It had embarrassed the sacred beasts and the Crane clan. It no longer had the face to meet its own kind. It was remorseful in its heart. You better behave yourself in the future. Otherwise, I'll pull you out every time I see you. I'll pull out all the hair on your body and see if you still dare to be smug. Seeing that Crane remained silent, Lung Ruoxue continued to warn him. I really don't dare to do it again. He said hurriedly, tears streaming down her face. Right now, in her eyes, Lung Ruoxue was the incarnation of a demon. How could she dare to provoke her? Then I'll give you a chance. I'll let you go this time. Lung Ruoxue was a magnanimous person, and Crane, who had its feathers plucked, was still grateful to her. Thank you for your generosity. He said like a little wife. Miss, I'm afraid these feathers aren't enough to make a blanket. Why don't we pluck some more? Seeing that Crane had given in, Grape still suggested with an evil smile. Her words scared Crane so much that its little heart was trembling, and it couldn't help but curse in its heart. Bad person. Bad guy. These women were really too evil. Sob. Master, quickly come and save me from the devil's claws. It's okay. I'll pull it out again next time. Lung Ruoxue looked at Crane, who was trembling all over, and very kindly did not agree. One should always stop while they were ahead. Then she called Ning Yen back and prepared to continue their journey. When Ning Yen returned, she saw Crane's uneven feathers of different lengths and felt a deep sense of sympathy. When Crane saw her, it was extremely affectionate and threw its head into her arms with tears in its eyes. Ning Yen was stunned for a moment before she came back to her senses. She smiled and patted Crane's head to comfort it. However, she could not help but think that Sister Ruoxue was so capable. He had never been so close to her. After consoling them for a while, they continued on their journey. This time, Crane was clearly much more obedient. Not long after, they finally arrived at their destination. Lung Ruoxue jumped off Crane's back and looked at the cold pond that Ning Yen had mentioned. The area of this cold pool was not very large, only about 10 square meters in size. The water was very deep. Although she could see white fish swimming around, the pool was so deep that she could not see the bottom. Not only that, this cold pool was also unusually cold. She could feel the cold air from some distance away from the cold pool. The surrounding scenery was like a painting, and the climate was warm and pleasant. However, there was a cold pool that did not match the surrounding scenery. This was really too strange. Even though Lung Ruoxue had her doubts, she did not think too much about it. This was because it seemed like this cold pond had been here for a long time. Little Sister Ruoxue, I'm telling you, the fish here are very delicious, and I drool just thinking about it. However, those fish are too cunning, so they are very difficult to catch. Ning Yen was very excited at first, but the thought of not being able to eat delicious food made her depressed again. Sister Yen. This cold pond should be quite old, right? Lung Ruoxue asked with a smile. Even though this cold pond is not big, it is still quite famous in the divine realm. Especially the fish here. I guarantee that you will want to eat more after you have tried it. Ning Yen said, drooling. Then how can I catch the fish here? Lung Ruoxue walked to the side of the pond and looked at the fish swimming happily. The temperature of the water was too low, so it was unrealistic to go into the pool to catch fish. Hee. I've already made preparations. Ning Yen took out 4 fishing rods from her storage bangle and handed them to Lung Ruoxue, Grape and Lotus Seed. Lung Ruoxue looked at the fishing rod in her hand and was speechless. So Ning Yen had brought her here to fish. But what did the fish here eat? As she was thinking, she saw Ning Yan walk to the side of the pool and pull up a few luxuriant waterweeds. The waterweeds were silver in color, and there seemed to be ice beads hanging on them. The leaves were semicircular and very thick, but the temperature of the waterweeds was very low. This is bait. Lung Ruoxue asked Ning Yan as she held the grass in her hand. Only by using this kind of water grass can you have a chance to catch the fish in the cold pond. However, it also depends on luck, because the fish here are very cunning. Ning Yan explained. Then, she hung a leaf on the hook and threw the line into the cold pool. She took out a small stool and sat by the pool. Looking at Ning Yan's actions, Lung Ruoxue did not know what to say. It turned out that the fish here were vegetarian. However, even though she thought about it, she still put the grass on the hook and started to fish by the pond. Chapter 1550. The Beautiful Dolphin Man That Was Caught 5. Not long after she placed the hook into the water, Lung Ruoxue's fishing rod reacted. With a gentle pull, a white fish the size of a palm was pulled ashore. Little sister Ruoxue, your luck is too good. Ning Yan's face was full of envy, jealousy, and hatred. She was the one who hit the fishing rod first, but her fishing rod didn't move at all. This was too much of a bully. Following that, Lung Ruoxue's fishing rod caught more fish one after another. Even grapes and lotus seed caught 2 fish each. However, Ning Yan's fishing rod did not react at all. This made her even more depressed. You guys are such bullies. Ning Yan couldn't help but complain. We were just lucky. However, the fish we caught weren't big. The big fish here were all saved for Sister Yan. Lung Ruoxue smiled as she consoled him. At least you know how to talk. Hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, Ning Yan's heart burst with joy and she continued to focus on fishing. She had to catch a big fish. However, Ning Yan's fishing rod didn't move until the grapes and lotus seeds were done roasting the fish. Ning Yan felt indignant as she ate the grilled fish in her hand. Her resentful eyes would drift towards Lung Ruoxue from time to time. Sob. Why was she so unlucky? Seeing Ning Yan's childish behavior, Lung Ruoxue could not help but laugh. She then handed her a fresh and juicy fish. The fish in the cold pond tasted really good. It was comparable to the one in her bracelet. Ning Yan took the fish and gnawed on it with gritted teeth, as if she wanted to vent all her anger on the grilled fish. Suddenly, she saw the fishing rod she had placed on the shore move, and quickly ran over to pull it back from the pool. Arg! Little sister Ruoxue. It's a big fish, come and help me. Ning Yan held the fishing rod tightly, but the fish she had caught was not small. It was struggling hard in the water, trying to keep a distance from her. The water in the pool splashed and the water kept rising. They're here. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxue, Grape, and Lotus quickly ran to Ning Yan's side to help her hold on to the fishing rod. This time, the fish that Ning Yan had caught was indeed not small, and the 4 of them almost could not hold it. They were in a deadlock with the big fish underwater. Lung Ruoxue saw that she didn't know how long it would take for them to reach the end. So she moved the Dark Tiger King and his wife out of the house. The moment the Dark Tiger King came out, it smiled at Lung Ruoxue and said, "Little girl, did you miss us? You're finally willing to let us out for some fresh air. Don't talk nonsense, hurry up and help." Lung Ruoxue said in an unpleasant tone when she saw the Tiger King acting all smug the moment he appeared. "All right. Watch me." The Shadow Tiger King's huge body stood beside Lung Ruoxue. Its huge claws grabbed onto the fishing rod. With a light lift and a pull, it easily pulled the big fish out of the water. Everyone was dumbfounded. Ugh! Was this a fish? Lung Ruoxue was speechless as she looked at the huge creature that was being dragged onto the shore. It was obviously a dolphin. This dolphin was almost 2 meters long, and its body was like a small mountain. Its entire body was light blue, and its skin was glowing with a faint light. Its pair of watery black eyes were glaring at them with extreme anger. Lung Ruoxue couldn't understand why there would be dolphins in the cold pond. Dolphins were obviously creatures of the sea. This was too unbelievable. Moreover, it seemed that this dolphin's strength wasn't low. It had reached the strength of an 8th-ranked sacred beast. It should be comparable to the Dark Tiger King. However, when the beastie in the water came to land, it would only be looking for abuse. Hence, even if this dolphin's strength was not low, Lung Ruoxua did not think highly of it. Moreover, she did not know what had happened to this dolphin, but its body was actually entangled by the fishing line. No wonder it was caught. Lung Ruoxua pitied the dolphin when she saw its sorry state. I want to catch fish. Ning Yan mumbled softly, as if she despised the dolphin. In fact, she was not to be blamed. After all, humans lived on land, so only the beasts on land were most suitable for them. As for the beasts in the water, they were useless in the eyes of humans, and few people would contract with the beasts in the water. Hearing Ning Yan's words, the dolphin was so angry that it kept blowing bubbles from its nostrils. However, because of the Dark Tiger King couple's presence, it was still a little afraid. However, it did not want to be outdone and roared at Ning Yan. Then why did you fish me up? I'm not a fish. The dolphin was furious, but it did not dare to offend Lung Ruoxua and the others. It was all alone now. If it was in the water, it wouldn't need to be afraid of these humans. I said I wanted to fish. What are you shouting for? Hearing the dolphin roar at her, Ning Yan's temper flared up. All of you shut up. You're not allowed to argue. Lung Ruoxua felt a headache coming on when she saw that the human and the dolphin were about to fight. Her words were quite effective. After Ning Yan and the dolphin glared at each other, they really stopped. However, Ning Yan was giving Lung Ruoxua face, while the dolphin was giving face to the Tiger King couple beside Lung Ruoxua. How did you appear in the cold pond? Lung Ruoxua turned her gaze towards the dolphin and asked. Even if you beat her to death, she would never believe that there would be a dolphin living in the cold pond. Hence, she had to clarify things first. I come from the endless sea. There is an eye of the sea that leads to here, so I naturally ran here. Who knew that I would be so unlucky to be caught by you guys? The dolphin was rather depressed. After it finished speaking, it lowered its head and did not say anything else. From the endless sea? Why didn't you stay in the sea? What are you doing in this cold pond? Ning Yan was a little angry. This stinky dolphin, not only did it delay her fishing, but it also wronged her first. How preposterous. Moreover, the endless ocean was quite far from the Ning family's divine territory. This dolphin wouldn't be able to reach here even if it took a stroll. You think I wanted to come? I was forced to do so. The dolphin was so aggrieved that it was about to cry, and its big eyes became even more watery. Could it be that you can't stay in the endless ocean any longer, so you want to change places? Lung Ruoxua made a guess when she heard the dolphin's words. Although she did not know where the endless sea was, since it was a sea, it should be quite big. Even if it was to fight for territory, it shouldn't have forced an 8th-ranked sacred beast into the cold pond. Right? No, someone wanted to capture me as a contracted beast. I was unwilling, so of course I could only run. Dolphin said honestly. Who would be so blind as to find a dolphin as their contracted beast? You guys aren't of much use on land. Ning Yan said with a look of disdain. Don't look down on me. Although I can't fully display my strength on land, I don't have many opponents in the sea. Dolphin was a little unconvinced. Chapter 1551. The Smiling Celestial Emperor, 1. You're a human? Ning Yan sized up the dolphin in front of her curiously, her eyes full of question marks and surprise. You. Dolphin was so angry at Ning Yan that she was speechless. She turned her head and looked at Lung Ruoxua. Girl, as long as you're willing to help me, I'll definitely repay you. The dolphin's words caused Lung Ruoxua to feel a little flustered. Even though this was not the first time a beastie had called her girl, she still found it hard to get used to hearing such words from a dolphin. How do you want me to help you? Looking at the dolphin's face that was filled with anticipation, Lung Ruoxua decided to ignore the word girl that it said. She had always been enthusiastic about helping animals. Moreover, dolphins were one of her favorite animals. Now that this talking dolphin was begging her, as long as it was within her ability, she would not refuse. Help me get rid of the fishing line first, he said. Dolphin requested. Yes. Lung Ruoxua nodded and walked forward to untie the fishing line around the dolphin. After the dolphin regained its freedom, it immediately transformed into a human. Instantly, an extremely beautiful man appeared in front of everyone. This beautiful man was tall and had long light blue hair that reached his waist. His pair of bright, starry eyes flickered with an alluring light. When he looked at Lung Ruoxue, there was a faint electric current flashing through his eyes. His pink lips opened slightly, and a soul contract was uttered from his mouth. As the contract's rules descended, it enveloped him and Lung Ruoxue within it. Upon seeing this scene, everyone present was dumbfounded. None of them had expected that the dolphin would sign a soul contract of its own accord without even asking for Lung Ruoxue's opinion. After the rules of the contract disappeared, Lung Ruoxue received looks of sympathy from Ning, Grape and Lotus. She did not know whether to laugh or cry. When she turned to look at the culprit, she saw that the culprit was looking at her with a shy expression. Cold sweat immediately broke out on her forehead. Although she was already used to the fact that there were always beasts who would automatically form contracts without her permission, this did not mean that she would not be angry. You. Just as Lung Ruoxue said one word, she was interrupted by the handsome man in front of her. You said you would help me, so you can't go back on your word. The dolphin man reminded her with a smirk. Lung Ruoxue glared at the handsome man in front of her in frustration. She took a deep breath and said in an unpleasant tone, "But I didn't ask you to recognize me as your master. How can you help me if you don't recognize me as your master?" The beautiful dolphin man smiled and asked in return. Then he said to Lung Ruoxue earnestly, "Didn't I say before that someone wanted to capture me as a contracted beast? I'm afraid it'll be taken away, so I might as well find myself a master first. I like you, so this kind of good thing has fallen into your hands. Others don't have the chance to want me." When he said this, he glanced at Ning Yan as if to say, "I'm talking about her." As expected, Ning Yan had a strong reaction to the dolphin man's words. She widened her eyes and glared at the man in front of her. "You want to recognize me as your master, but I'm not willing. Unless I'm an idiot, I wouldn't accept a useless beastie. I'm useless? My strength is equivalent to a human god king." The dolphin beauty was so angry that smoke was coming out of his head as he roared. "So what? Can you defeat a god king on the ground? Do you really think that humans would be stupid enough to fight you in the sea?" Ning Yan's face was full of contempt. "You'll regret it if you look down on me," the beautiful dolphin man said indifferently. Then he looked at Lung Ruoxue with a face full of resentment, as if he had suffered a great grievance. When Lung Ruoxue saw the beautiful dolphin man's expression, she was speechless. Not only that, but the dolphin's words had also driven her mad. It turned out that he was afraid of being captured, so he recognized her as his master in a moment of desperation. This had hurt her pride a little. "Master, although I haven't seen many humans, you're the one I have the best impression of." Sensing Lung Ruoxue's thoughts, the dolphin-like handsome man blinked his big, black eyes that were as bright as diamonds. He walked to Lung Ruoxue's side and tried to please her. Even though the beautiful dolphin man had said so, Lung Ruoxue still felt a little upset, so she remained silent. "Master, I really like you." Upon seeing this, the dolphin beauty could only continue to work hard to please Lung Ruoxue. "What do you like about me?" Finally, Lung Ruoxue was willing to pay attention to him. She made the beautiful dolphin-like man so beautiful that his tail was about to rise to the sky. "I don't need a reason to like someone. Otherwise, why would I choose you to be my master with so many people here?" Dolphin replied matter-of-factly, but his words were met with contempt from Ning Yan, Grape and Lotus Seed. "Moreover, you won't suffer a loss if you take me in as a beastie. There are many rare treasures in my hometown. It's almost impossible for you humans to get them easily, but for me, it's as easy as flipping my hand." The dolphin-like man continued to coax her while blinking his bright eyes. He would occasionally throw a charming glance at Lung Ruoxue. "It sounds like there are many benefits to accepting you as a beastie," Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. That's a must." Dolphin was very proud. "But I'm still a little angry, what should I do?" Lung Ruoxue said with a conflicted expression. "Master, why don't you hit me?" After the beautiful dolphin finished speaking, he took out a long whip out of nowhere and handed it to Lung Ruoxue. Lung Ruoxue looked at the whip, and could not help but frown. Putting aside where the dolphin's whip came from, the fact that he had taken out the whip for her to hit him was strange no matter how she thought about it. That she did not want to let her thoughts run wild, but she could not control her thoughts. This beautiful man transformed from a dolphin had red lips and white teeth. His skin was delicate and smooth, and he looked fragile. He really had the potential to be a little beast. Master, I'm already your little beastie. The beautiful dolphin man who was connected to Lung Ruoxia's heart laughed evilly. After he finished speaking, he even stuffed the whip into Lung Ruoxia's hands. Then he found a huge green rock and lay down. His meaning was clear. Master, come and whip me. I won't resist. The dolphin-like handsome man's face was filled with shyness, as if there was a trace of anticipation. Seeing his actions, the black lines on Lung Ruoxia's forehead deepened. Ning Yen, Grape, and Lotus Seed also stared with their mouths wide open, not knowing what to say. It was obvious that the dolphin's actions were beyond their expectations. However, the Dark Tiger King and his wife were very calm, as if they were used to it. Master, don't make me wait too long. The beautiful dolphin man's words were already enough to make one's imagination run wild. In addition, he kept throwing charming eyes at Lung Ruoxia. For a moment, Ning Yen and the others all looked at Lung Ruoxia with very ambiguous gazes. Chapter 1552. The Smiling Celestial Emperor, 2. Hurry up and stand up. It's broad daylight and you're already like this. What's wrong with you? Cold sweat trickled down Lung Ruoxia's forehead, causing her to be incoherent. Master is right. It's not good to be like this in broad daylight. Then you can hit me at night when there's no one around. The dolphin-like man gave Lung Ruoxia an I understand look, causing Lung Ruoxia to almost go crazy. Sob. That was not what she meant, okay. Lung Ruoxia was so depressed that she almost vomited blood. That damn dolphin, how dare it misinterpret her words. However, she could only deal with this dolphin's ambiguous words coldly and ignore it. Otherwise, Ning Yen and the others would definitely think that she was angry out of embarrassment and wanted to kill it to silence it. She couldn't let them think that way, so she could only pretend that nothing had happened. Master, let's leave this place first, okay? Seeing that Lung Ruoxia was silent for a long time, the beautiful dolphin man took the initiative to speak again. Actually, he was afraid that the person would chase after them. That person's strength was above them, and if he really caught up, it would be quite troublesome for them. However, he did not dare to make things too clear, because he was afraid that Lung Ruoxia and the others would be afraid. What's the hurry? We just came out. Before Lung Ruoxia could say anything, the Dark Tiger King spoke first with a hint of dissatisfaction. It had already smelled the fragrance of the fish. It was obviously impossible for it to leave without eating a single one. After hearing the Dark Tiger King's words, the dolphin man was so angry that he wanted to open its head to see what it was made of. How could it be so stupid? AI. He hoped that his master would understand his hint. Little girl, I also want to eat fish. The Dark Tiger King ignored the beautiful dolphin man's flirtatious gaze and spoke to Lung Ruoxia. I'll roast it for you when we get back. Lung Ruoxia said after some thought. She could hear the dolphin's words and understood its concerns. After all, a person who could chase a dolphin with the strength of a god king to the point that it had no choice but to flee from its hometown must be an unparalleled expert. She could not afford to offend such a person now. Right. I'll roast it when I get back. The dolphin nodded. Following that, Lung Ruoxia and the rest packed their things and prepared to leave. All of a sudden, the water in the frosty lake churned and a powerful pressure enveloped them. Lung Ruoxia and the rest instantly found it difficult to breathe, and in the blink of an eye, their faces turned pale. Upon seeing this, Lung Ruoxia and the rest knew that they had encountered an expert. Furthermore, this expert might be the one who wanted to contract the dolphin. Almost instantly, a young man's figure appeared in the middle of the waves. This man was dressed in white and had a handsome face. When his shrewd eyes saw Lung Ruoxia and the others, they flickered for a moment before returning to normal. Immediately after, He retracted his aura and looked at Lung Ruoxue and the rest with an apologetic expression. He said, "I'm sorry for being impolite. May I ask who you are?" Ning Yan asked first, trying to calm herself down. "I'm Xiaobing, may I know who you are?" Xiaobing introduced himself, then politely asked for Lung Ruoxue and the others' names. "I'm Lung Ruoxue, and she's my elder sister. They're my maidservants and subordinates." Lung Ruoxue didn't give Ning Yan a chance to speak and introduced him first. Just now, the dolphin had already sent her a voice transmission, saying that this man named Xiaobing was the one who had been chasing after him and wanted to form a contract with him. So, she naturally had to be careful. Ning Yan's name would make people think of the Ning family. Before she could figure out this man's identity, she naturally didn't want to drag the Ning family into this. After the introduction, Lung Ruoxue sent a voice transmission to Ning Yan. "Sister Yan. This person is the one who chased the dolphin and wanted to form a contract with it." "Oh, little sister Ruoxue, if I remember correctly, this person should be from the Divine Master's estate. The Divine Master's estate has a divine emperor called Xiaobing. However, I hope that this Xiaobing is not the one from the Divine Master's estate." Ning Yan replied worriedly. "Why?" Lung Ruoxue was confused. "Sister Ruoxue, you may not know this, but Xiaobing from the Divine Master's estate is not the strongest in the Divine Master's estate. However, he is a sinister man who likes to play dirty tricks behind people's backs. Therefore, the people in the divine world gave him the nickname, Smiling Divine Emperor. In addition, many people would rather offend a divine emperor, who is stronger than him, than to provoke Xiaobing, mainly because Xiaobing is too difficult to deal with. Anyone who is entangled with him will be driven crazy by him. So, we have to be careful and not let him find out where that stinky dolphin is. Otherwise, I'm afraid our good days will come to an end." Ning Yan said gloomily, cursing the dolphin in her heart. It was the dolphin's fault that Xiaobing was provoked. "Yes." Lung Ruoxue nodded her head slightly without a change in expression. The conversation between the two of them had only lasted for a few seconds. However, in order to not let the man in front of her notice anything amiss, she had to smile when she was communicating with Ning Yan. "Hello, Miss Lung. It's a pleasure to meet you." Xiaobing smiled faintly, but his sharp eyes seemed to be sizing up the others. After a long while, "Are the White Tiger and the Dark Tiger King Miss Lung's beastie?" Xiaobing Kai asked. "Yes, I am." Lung Ruoxue nodded. Before she understood Xiaobing's intentions, she didn't intend to say too much. "I really didn't think that Miss Lung's beastie would have such strength." Xiaobing exclaimed in admiration with an envious look on his face, while he was trying to guess Lung Ruoxue's identity. This was clearly the Ning family's divine realm. If this young lady was from the Ning family, it would make sense for her to have two powerful beasts. However, this young lad's surname was Lung, which made him suspicious. In the entire firmament, he did not dare to claim that he knew all the clans of various sizes like the back of his hand. However, he was also very clear that among the clans of medium grade and above that he knew, there was no clan with the surname Lung. Furthermore, a clan that could own a godking level beast would definitely not be a small and unknown clan. Furthermore, Lung Ruoxue's strength was extremely low. If she did not come from a top-notch clan, it would be impossible for her to live in the firmament with her strength. In the divinity, only reverent god-level cultivators could create their own small world. Hence, only the younger generation of clans with reverent god-level cultivators could live in the divinity. Hence, even though he could not figure out Lung Ruoxue's background, out of careful consideration, he would not rashly ask about her background. However, at the same time, he was also suspicious that Lung Ruoxue had given him a fake name. "I'm just lucky to have them." Lung Ruoxue chuckled as she explained. "Master, I want to eat grilled fish, quickly grill it for me." At this moment, the Dark Tiger King interjected at the right time, fully displaying the fact that it was a beastie that was extremely dependent on its master. Yen, who was by its side, also had an expression of anticipation. Having lived for so long, the Shadow Tiger King had long since become a demon. When it heard Lung Ruoxue say that the couple were her beasts, it immediately realized that there was something wrong with this man. Moreover, this man had emerged from the Frost Lake, and the dolphin had also emerged from there. Thus, after some thought, it guessed that this man might be the person who had chased the dolphin to make a contract with it. Chapter 1553. The Smiling Celestial Emperor 3. Unless there was no other choice or by chance, there was almost no one among the beasties who would foolishly acknowledge a master on their own accord. And towards humans who wanted to capture them and force them to form a contract, the beasties had always shared a common enemy. Therefore, although they did not have much of a friendship with that dolphin, but on account that everyone was beasties, it was still very willing to help him. Moreover, that dolphin had now acknowledged that little girl as its master, and that little girl had done its entire family a great favor. It naturally couldn't just stand by and watch. You're a foodie, you only know how to eat. Lung Ruoxua patted the Shadow Tiger King's head as she said this, pretending to be helpless. Then she turned to Xiao Bing and said apologetically, "I'm sorry, I've made a fool of myself." After that, she took out the fish that she had kept earlier and handed them to Grape for her to clean up. Lotus Seed took the initiative to relight the fire. Looking at the familiar-looking fish, Xiao Bing said, "Miss Lung and the others are here to fish?" "Yup. After fishing for the whole morning, I only managed to catch a few. I wanted to take them home to eat, but who knew that I, this glutton beastie, couldn't hold back?" Lung Ruoxua explained with a smile. Since she didn't leave, she wasn't in a hurry to leave, in case Xiao Bing noticed something. Hehe. "I've also heard that the fish in this cold pond are very delicious. Why don't I make some more, and we can roast them together?" Xiao Bing said enthusiastically. After he finished speaking, he did not give Lung Ruoxua a chance to reject him. He used his divine power to form a 1-meter-wide fishing net, and threw it into the water. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxua looked at Ning Yan and transmitted her voice. "Sister Yan, I'm using a fishing net." "So what?" Fishing rods had their own fun. Furthermore, even if he uses a net, he might not be able to catch the fish. Otherwise, the fish here wouldn't be so difficult to catch. Ning Yan said disapprovingly. Alright. You're right." Lung Ruoxua saw that Ning Yan was looking down on Xiao Bing's fishing net, so she tactfully stopped talking about it. After all, the result would be clear. After waiting for a while, when Xiao Bing lifted the net, there was not a single fish in sight. There were only a few stalks of seaweed in the huge net. Seeing this, Ning Yan was extremely pleased. Lung Ruoxua ignored Ning Yan's smugness and focused on roasting the fish in her hands. Xiao Bing, on the other hand, was unwilling to give up and cast the net again. "Mr. Xiao Bing, you need a fishing rod to catch the fish here." Ning Yan reminded him kindly. "A fishing net is fine too. I've fished it before. However, you have to be patient." Xiao Bing said calmly, his gaze fixed on Lung Ruoxua, who was concentrating on roasting the fish. "Then I wish you success." Ning Yan ignored Xiao Bing and sat beside Lung Ruoxua after she finished speaking. After a long time, Xiao Bing pulled in the net for the umpteenth time, and finally caught more than 10 fish. The net can really catch them. Ning Yan mumbled to herself as she looked at the dozen palm-sized fish. "Of course you can, but you need to be patient." Xiao Bing said with a smile, then found a place to sit down. Lung Ruoxua passed Xiao Bing a fish. Xiao Bing didn't stand on ceremony. After saying his thanks, he started to gnaw on it elegantly. Everyone ate and chatted, and in just a short while, they became familiar with each other. Xiao Bing saw that the time was right, so he coughed lightly and slowly explained the reason. "Hehe. You must be very curious as to why I came out of the water." Xiao Bing said with a smile. Lung Ruoxua and Ning Yan looked at each other and nodded. However, neither of them continued the conversation. Xiao Bing didn't mind and continued talking. "Actually, I'm chasing after a dolphin." Xiao Bing said, then continued. "That dolphin used to be a guard of the God Lord's estate. Because he made a mistake, he was punished by the God Lord. He was not willing to be punished, so he injured the guard who was watching him and escaped from the God Lord's estate. I was ordered to hunt him down. I chased him to the endless ocean, and he used his familiarity with the sea to escape from a sea eye in the endless ocean. I followed the sea eye and came here. If you know where he is, tell me, and the Divine Master will definitely reward you." Xiaobing continued. You're from the Divine Master's estate. Ning Yan pretended to be surprised, and her expression turned into one of admiration. As for Xiaobing's question, she ignored it. Did you guys see a dolphin appear here? If you do, please tell me where he is. The God Lord's estate will definitely not mistreat you. Xiaobing repeated with a nod. I'm sorry. We didn't see any dolphins, but you can tell us what he looks like. We'll definitely let you know when we find his tracks. Ning Yan said very seriously. Sister Yan is right. Tell us what the dolphin looks like. We'll inform you as soon as we know where it is. Lung Ruoxue chimed in as well, her beautiful face filled with anticipation. Even though the dolphin's story was different from Xiaobing's, she still chose to believe it. Other than the fact that the dolphin was already her beastie, the main reason was that Xiaobing's story was full of loopholes. He had said that the dolphin was a guard of the Divine Lord's estate. However, the dolphin was right in front of him, and he had not recognized it. How could he have the nerve to say that the dolphin was a guard of the Divine Lord's estate? Wasn't this making others laugh their heads off? However, she didn't expect Ning Yan to be so good at acting, which was a little beyond her expectations. You guys really didn't see it? Xiaobing couldn't quite believe it, because in his opinion, the dolphin's speed shouldn't be much faster than his. If these people had been fishing here all this time, how could they not have seen the dolphin? Lung Ruoxue and the rest nodded. Haven't you been here the whole morning? Xiaobing asked the question in his heart. Yup. However, we didn't stay by the pond all the time, so Lung Ruoxue stopped halfway through her sentence and decided to let Xiaobing make his own guess. I see. Although Xiaobing was still suspicious of Lung Ruoxue's words, he thought about it carefully. These women didn't seem like people who had the patience to stay still and fish. When he thought about this, he put down the doubts in his heart. After Lung Ruoxue and the rest finished their fish, they planned to leave. However, Xiaobing did not leave just like that. Instead, he wanted to follow them. In his own words, he was not very familiar with the Ning clan's divine realm, and it would be good to have company if he went with them. His thoughts made Lung Ruoxue and the rest suffer in silence. If it wasn't for the dolphin, Lung Ruoxue would have told him directly that she didn't like to hang out with strangers. However, she couldn't say it out loud now. Who asked the other party to not dispel their suspicions? Chapter 1554. The Smiling Celestial Emperor for Sister Yan. What do we do now? Lung Ruoxue sent a message to Ning Yan. Sister Ruoxue, why don't you bring him to the Ning family? With Dad around, Xiaobing won't be able to do anything. Ning Yan said after some thought. Sister Yan, Xiaobing is from the Divine Master's estate. It's not good to drag the Ning family into this. Lung Ruoxue didn't agree with Ning Yan's opinion. In her eyes, Xiaobing was definitely not a friend. Once Xiaobing found out that the dolphin she was looking for had already recognized her as its master, he would probably fly into a rage out of humiliation. Now, she obviously didn't want the Ning family to have any conflict with the Divine Master's estate. Then what do we do? Ning Yan was in a dilemma. She didn't want the Ning family and the Divine Master's estate to fight each other. Sister Yan, how about we split up? Take the grapes, lotus seeds, and the dolphin back to the Ning family first. Also, help me tell Godfather that I have something to do and will be back late. It'll take Xiaobing, Tiger King, and his wife to take another route. After shaking him off, it'll go back to the Ning family. Lung Ruoxue thought for a moment. This should be the best solution she could think of. No. That Xiaobing might look decent, but he was actually very sinister. How can I let you leave with him? Besides, it's hard to say whether he'll follow you or not. He's not someone who'll be manipulated by others. Ning Yan objected. Sister Yan, there's no other way. I don't want to drag the Ning family into this. Take grape and leave. I have my ways to deal with this Xiaobing. Lung Ruoxue consoled. Little sister Ruoxue, do you think that we are holding you back? Ning Yan said aggrievedly, feeling very unwilling in her heart. Sister Yan, it's good that you know. Lung Ruoxue had no choice but to follow Ning Yan's lead. Little sister Ruoxue, I'm sad. Ning Yan's resentful eyes followed Lung Ruoxue. She thought to herself, Sister Ruoxua is too honest. Even if she really had such thoughts, she shouldn't have said it out loud. Sister Yan, you should know that I have no choice. If I bring Xiaobing to the Ning family and something happens, the Ning family won't be able to hold him back. Lung Ruoxua tried to persuade him. Actually, the Ning family might not be afraid of Xiaobing, but the Divine Master's estate that Xiaobing represented was very troublesome. Now was not the time to start a conflict with the Divine Master's estate. In short, the time was not right. Alright then. However, your maidservant and that dolphin may not leave with me. Ning Yan compromised. I'll tell them. After Lung Ruoxua was done speaking, she sent voice transmissions to Grape, Lotus Seed, and Dolphin. Although they were unwilling, after Lung Ruoxua emphasized that they would drag her down, the three of them kept quiet. After settling their matters, Lung Ruoxua said to Xiaobing, Mr. Xiaobing, my sister has something else to do, so we'll have to split up for a while. Which way do you plan to go? Not far from the Frost Lake, there were 2 roads leading to the other side. When Lung Ruoxua said this, she wasn't sure if Xiaobing would go with her, so she decided to let Xiaobing choose first. In any case, she had already made up her mind. Whichever road Xiaobing took, she would follow. She didn't believe that Xiaobing would have any way to follow them. Miss Lung, which path do you plan to take? Xiaobing asked instead of answering. I'm planning to take the left path to the Nightless City. Lung Ruoxua said with a smile. What is Miss Lung going to the Nightless City for? Xiaobing's face was full of question marks. Look at the fireflies. I heard that the fireflies in the Nightless City are at their most beautiful right now. I want to see them. Lung Ruoxua asked curiously. What about this Miss Lung? He pointed at Ning Yan and asked. Younger sister is going to the Nightless City, so I naturally have to go to the Ning family's divine realm to handle some matters. Ning Yan said matter-of-factly. I wonder what Miss Lung is going to do in the Ning family's divine realm? Xiaobing asked again. Mr. Xiaobing, do I need to report to you what I'm going to do in the Ning family's god realm? What I'm going to do is naturally a family matter, which is also a secret of our family. Please forgive me for not being able to disclose it. Ning Yan's face turned serious and she said angrily. Miss Lung, you've misunderstood me. I'm just a little curious. Please forgive my rudeness. Xiaobing's attitude was very good, and he was not annoyed by Ning Yan's words. It's okay. I know this is an occupational disease of the Divine Lord's residence. Ning Yan was also very generous, but her words made Xiaobing a little unhappy. Sister, didn't you have something to do? Let's go quickly. Don't delay the important things. Without giving Xiaobing a chance to react, Lung Ruoxua urged him on. And Ning Yan nodded and summoned Crane, then flew towards the Ning family's divine realm with Grape and the other 2. The moment they left, only Lung Ruoxua, Xiaobing, and the 2 tigers were left. After Ning Yan and the rest had disappeared, Lung Ruoxua turned to Xiaobing and said, Mr. Xiaobing, where do you plan to go? I'll go with you to the Nightless City to see fireflies. Xiaobing said with a smile. Good. Then let's go. After Lung Ruoxua finished speaking, she walked towards the road leading to the Nightless City. As he walked, he transmitted his voice to the fellow in the beastie dimension. Why did you come back? Don't you know that Xiaobing is looking for you? Lung Ruoxia's head was hurting. She had finally let Ning Yan take them away. But who knew that this dolphin would sneak back and enter her beast dimension without a sound? I'm worried about Master. Of course, I have to stay by Master's side to protect you. Dolphin said in an aggrieved voice. Protect me? It's already good enough that you didn't come back and add to my troubles. It was clear that Lung Ruoxua didn't think highly of him, and this hurt the pretty Dolphin Man's self-esteem. Master, I'm very strong. Dolphin reminded. Yup. He's so strong that he's being chased around and hiding. Lung Ruoxua used her divine sense to look at the small dolphin that was standing tall in the beast dimension. He's stronger than me. If I don't run, I'll be caught by him. The dolphin's face was full of resentment. It didn't want to become a slave to humans. Of course, the owner it found was an exception. If you're afraid of being caught, then you'd better behave. I, your master, am weak and can't protect you. Lung Ruoxue reminded. I just want to stay by Master's side obediently. I won't drag Master down. Dolphin promised. That's good. After Lung Ruoxue finished speaking, she cut off the connection with the dolphin. That was because Xiaobing was talking to her. Lung Ruoxue lifted her beautiful eyes and said in embarrassment. What did Sir Xiaobing just say? I was a little distracted and didn't hear you clearly. I'm asking if Miss Lung is planning to go to the Nightless City by foot. Xiaobing chuckled. Yup. Lung Ruoxue nodded her head and thought, you better not want to leave. This way, they could part ways. God knew how much she didn't want to pretend to be nice to Xiaobing. Chapter 1555. The Smiling Celestial Emperor 5. Miss Lung doesn't have a flying beast? Xiaobing asked again. There is. However, my flying beast is in closed-door cultivation, so I can only trouble my 2 legs. Lung Ruoxue said helplessly. She was speaking the truth. Because his flying beastie was indeed in seclusion. I see, then use mine. Otherwise, I don't know when we'll be able to reach Nightless City. Xiaobing didn't doubt him this time, but suggested. I'm sorry, I'm sick of flying beasts. Lung Ruoxue's beautiful face was filled with apology. Her words made Xiaobing little angry. In his entire life, he had never heard of cultivators who could make their flying beasts unconscious. Hence, he did not believe Lung Ruoxue's words at all. However, since Lung Ruoxue had already said so, he could not possibly force her to sit on his flying beast. Although he really wanted to do that, he did not want to ruin his relationship with Lung Ruoxue. However, he was also feeling rather depressed. After all, he was still a divine emperor. He also had the God Lord's estate as his backing. He had never received such treatment before. However, even though he was angry, as he looked at Lung Ruoxue's beautiful face, he could not vent his anger no matter how much he wanted to. Her beauty was misleading. Following that, Xiaobing walked side by side with Lung Ruoxue without saying a word. The Dark Tiger King and his wife followed behind them. In the evening, Lung Ruoxue saw that the sky was already dark and suggested that they find a place to camp. Although Xiaobing was depressed, he did not object. However, he did not know when they would reach Nightless City at their current speed. Lung Ruoxue didn't care what Xiaobing was thinking. In any case, she was going to rest, stop, eat, and sleep. After finding an empty space, Lung Ruoxue set up her tent and had a simple meal before going to sleep in her tent. Xiaobing, on the other hand, was sitting by the fire, deep in thought. He didn't know what had happened to him. Even if he was suspicious of Lung Ruoxue, there was no need for him to follow her around like a fool, right? And if he really wanted to find out something, wouldn't it be better to just bring her to the Divine Master's estate? Why go through so much trouble? He couldn't explain his abnormal behavior. Even though he had a good impression of Lung Ruoxue, he didn't think that he was someone who had the patience to coax women. So what was he doing now? Xiaobing was in a dilemma the entire night, while Lung Ruoxue had already entered the bracelet and had a good sleep. The next day, the two of them continued on their journey. The Tiger King couple had entered the house yesterday, but they were not released today. Little girl, please let me out. The Dark Tiger King kept on transmitting his voice to Lung Ruoxue. It was so noisy that Lung Ruoxue could not stand it anymore. She directly blocked off the house from the outside world, before her heart finally calmed down. Just like that, Lung Ruoxue and Xiaobing walked slowly. After close to 10 days, they finally arrived at the Nightless City. When they entered the Nightless City, it was daytime, and there were very few pedestrians in the city. However, there were 2 extremely ugly old men who were particularly eye-catching, because they were like ants on a hot pan, constantly walking back and forth at the city gate. My good daughter, you've finally come. Your father has been waiting for you for many days. A tall and ugly old man gave Lung Ruoxue a bear hug the moment he saw her. He pulled Lung Ruoxue into his arms and said with tears flowing down his face, "My good granddaughter, Grandpa has missed you so much." The other old man pulled Lung Ruoxue out of the arms of the old man who claimed to be her father, and said with tears in his eyes. When the two of them saw Lung Ruoxue, they were extremely excited. Lung Ruoxue was only stunned for a moment before she called out sweetly, "Grandpa, father." Why are you guys here? These two people were none other than the master of the Ning family, and the first elder of the Craftsmen's Guild who had taken the disguise pill. We missed you. The two of them said in unison. Then the master of the Ning family explained. I heard from your sister that you're going to Nightless City to see fireflies. We're worried, so we followed you to see. Oh, big sister is home already? Lung Ruoxua asked on purpose. We're home. Your sister's business is all done. But why are you so slow? The master of the Ning family asked. I'm sick of flying beasts. So we walked here. This is already considered fast. Lung Ruoxua said with a smile, but she was a little depressed in her heart. After nearly 10 days, she still couldn't get rid of this guy. She was really a failure. Even though she had thought of entering the bracelet and never coming out, she was afraid that Xiaobing would become even more suspicious. After all, Xiaobing was keeping a close eye on her. If she went missing for no reason, it would only make him more suspicious. So, she could only swallow her anger and follow Xiaobing on the journey. Fortunately, Xiaobing had been well behaved along the way. Otherwise, she would not mind making him the first eunuch in the Divine Master's estate. My poor child. You must be exhausted. The master of the Ning family said with heartache. His goddaughter had really put in a lot of effort to get rid of that Xiaobing. However, it did not seem to have any effect, because he had already felt a probing gaze. It's all right. It's all thanks to Sir Xiaobing's care along the way. Lung Ruoxua had not forgotten about Xiaobing's existence. After hearing Lung Ruoxia's words, Xiaobing smiled apologetically and said, Miss Lung is too polite. This is what I should do. How is this what you should do? Don't talk nonsense, my daughter is not married yet. If you can't get married, you'll have to take responsibility. The master of the Ning family said unhappily. He was really angered by Xiaobing's words. As his father, he couldn't stand any young man saying that it was his duty to take care of his daughter. Wasn't that clearly trying to snatch his daughter away from him? This was preposterous. If Miss Lung really can't get married because of this, I'm willing to take responsibility. Xiaobing seized the opportunity and said rudely, You wish. The master of the Ning family was even angrier. He really didn't expect Xiaobing to be so thick-skinned, but now that he thought about it, it seemed that his words were a little inappropriate, but words that had been said were like water that had been spilled. Even if he wanted to take them back, he couldn't, so he could only sulk alone. When Lung Ruoxua heard their conversation, the black lines on her forehead immediately slid down. Although she was a little angry, she was smart enough not to interrupt. Otherwise, it would only make things worse. In fact, Xiaobing had his own reasons for saying that. He had been looking at the two old men for a long time, but he couldn't tell what their cultivation levels were. He couldn't help but feel puzzled, and there were only two possibilities if he couldn't tell. One was that they had equipment that could hide their cultivation levels, and the other was that their cultivation levels were higher than his. He would rather not be able to see through the cultivation base of the two old men, because they had equipment that could hide their cultivation base, than to see their cultivation base above his. He was already an immortal emperor. If their cultivation base was higher than his, it was self-evident what kind of strength they had. Therefore, he spared no effort in saying such ambiguous words to test their cultivation base. Chapter 1556. Shifting the source of trouble to the east. 1. However, the other party didn't seem to be fooled. Other than being a little angry, there was no other reaction. Thinking of this, he could only continue to add fire. I'm serious. I'm already a divine emperor. I should be worthy of Miss Lung. Xiaobing said confidently, who knew that the master of the Ning family would just look at Xiaobing indifferently, then turn to Lung Ruoxua and say, Shui, let's go and ignore this lunatic. This time, he couldn't even be bothered to be angry. He had lived for so long, if he couldn't even see through this little trick of the other party, then wouldn't he have lived in vain? Right. My good granddaughter. Let's go. The first elder said. Then, the two of them escorted Lung Ruoxua and headed towards the inn they had booked. Seeing this, Xiaobing wasn't angry, but followed behind the three of them. In short, it wasn't easy to get rid of him. After entering the inn, Master Ning and First Elder pulled Lung Ruoxue into a room. Then they glared at Lung Ruoxue with anger. No one spoke first. When Lung Ruoxue saw their expressions, she could only put on an obedient look and let them stare at her. However, she would occasionally show her grievances. Finally, the master of the Ning family couldn't bear it anymore. The corner of his mouth twitched, and he said in an unpleasant tone, "You're actually feeling wronged. Damn girl. Do you know how impetuous you were? If Xiaobing really had bad intentions towards you, we wouldn't even be able to see you now." Ugh. What he meant was that Xiaobing might have taken Shui, or somewhere. That brat had ill intentions towards Shui, or from the start. However, it's a good thing he hasn't done anything yet. The First Elder added fuel to the fire. From his tone, one could hear a trace of dissatisfaction towards Lung Ruoxue. "Godfather, Grandpa, I know you're worried about me, but I know what I'm doing," Lung Ruoxue said helplessly. She had many ways to escape, but she would not use them unless she had no other choice. She knew that Godfather and First Elder would be worried about her because of this, but now was not the time to reveal her trump card. After all, one had to have some secrets. "Wretched girl. What did you call him?" Suddenly, the master of the Ning family pointed at the Great Elder and questioned him angrily. Grandpa, what's wrong?" Lung Ruoxue was at a complete loss. Her godfather seemed to be even angrier. "That's right. What's wrong with Shui, or calling me grandfather?" The Great Elder chuckled provocatively, but he couldn't help but wonder if he should thank that Xiaobing. If it wasn't for Shui, or wanting to get rid of him, he wouldn't have had the chance to be his grandfather. "Shui, you're not allowed to call him grandfather," the master of the Ning family ordered. At this moment, his mind was filled with the word grandfather from Lung Ruoxue's mouth. How could he still be bothered about what had happened before? On what basis? "You were the one who agreed for me to appear as Shui Er's grandfather." Without waiting for Lung Ruoxue's reaction, First Elder roared in dissatisfaction. This damned old man was clearly burning the bridge after crossing the river. They had a good deal at home. One was a godfather, and the other was a grandfather. However, now that he had found Shui, he actually turned his back on her. Humph. How preposterous. This definitely can't happen. I didn't say you're not allowed to be Shui Er's grandfather. I just don't allow Shui to call you grandfather. The master of the Ning family emphasized that this stinky old man calling himself grandfather and Shui calling him were two completely different things. So in order to protect his own interests, he would never allow this to happen. Is there a difference? The Great Elder was confused. There's a big difference, the master of the Ning family said fiercely. As Lung Ruoxue listened to their conversation, the black lines on her forehead slid down uncontrollably. She couldn't help but sigh in her heart. Her godfather and the Great Elder had actually forgotten to continue scolding her just because of the matter of how they addressed her. But this was good too. She could finally catch her breath. However, things were not as good as Lung Ruoxue had thought. Master Ning and the Great Elder argued for a while before he turned his attention back to Lung Ruoxue and continued to ramble on and on. After a long time, Lung Ruoxue was about to fall asleep from the scolding, and Master Ning finally stopped. The parched master of the Ning family and the Great Elder, who had been fanning the flames, picked up the teacups on the table and drank it all in one gulp. Then the two of them stared at Lung Ruoxue, eyes wide open. From their long talk, Lung Ruoxue knew that Ning Yan had already brought the grapes and lotus seeds back to the Ning family. When they heard that she was with Xiaobing, her godfather and Great Elder rushed over immediately. They stayed in the nightless city for almost 10 days because they did not expect Lung Ruoxue to arrive so slowly. These days, they had been worried that Lung Ruoxue would be bullied and be hurt. Now that they saw her, they were all worried. Naturally, they wanted to vent out all the dissatisfaction in their hearts. Hence, Lung Ruoxue, who knew she was in the wrong, did not stop them. "Godfather, how's the family competition?" Lung Ruoxue let out a soft sigh and changed the topic. The middle stage of the competition should have ended by now, but she didn't see it. All of this was caused by that annoying fellow, Xiaobing. So, Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but feel a trace of resentment towards him from the bottom of her heart. Ning Shan and Ning Hai, those two little guys, have performed well. They've already entered the final stage of the competition. If we can hurry back as soon as possible, we should be able to see the final match. The master of the Ning family knew what Shui wanted to ask, so he didn't keep her in suspense and told her directly. In fact, after Shui's accident, he had originally wanted to postpone the family competition, but considering that it had already been suspended once, he did not do so this time. Otherwise, the Ning family's clansmen would be overthinking things again. That's good. Lung Ruoxue nodded. My good granddaughter. How do you plan to get rid of Xiaobing? It seems like Xiaobing is planning to pester you. At this time, the first elder asked worriedly, and even deliberately emphasized the words good granddaughter. His eyes also faintly floated to the master of the Ning family, He. Old man Ning had agreed to this, so of course he had to call out to his heart's content. I don't know. I've tried a lot along the way, and I've also hinted that I'll go home after seeing the fireflies, but he ignored me. Lung Ruoxue felt a headache coming on. From the beginning to the end, Xiaobing had never believed her, and had even been testing her, trying to find out more about her. So, she really didn't know how to deal with Xiaobing, who was like a sticky candy. Shui, if it really doesn't work, well, just cut him off. The master of the Ning family made a gesture of cutting his throat, and said with a ruthless face, Godfather, if we kill Xiaobing, we'll have offended the Divine Master's estate, and we'll probably have to face them head-on. Lung Ruoxue asked worriedly. To the Divine World, the God Lord's estate was a colossal existence. If the Ning family was the king of the Divine World, then the God Lord's estate would be the emperor of the entire Divine World. Furthermore, there would definitely be countless experts in the God Lord's estate. Therefore, the God Lord's estate was not something that she could afford to provoke at the moment. Even the Ning family's chances of winning against the God Lord's estate were not high. Hence, she did not approve of a conflict with the God Lord's estate now. Chapter 1557. Shifting the disaster to the east too. The immortal realm is huge, and if Xiaobing dies, it won't be too soon for them to trace it back to us. However, if we really want to kill him, we have to be fully prepared. First Elder said after some thought. Godfather, Great Elder, Nightless City is too close to the Ning family's divine realm. If something happens to Xiaobing here, not only will the city lord not be able to escape, but the Divine Lord's estate will also target the Ning family's divine realm. Although the Divine Lord's estate won't have any evidence that we killed Xiaobing, it's not a good thing to be targeted by them. Lung Ruoxue analyzed. She wasn't a saint who would think for others in everything, but she didn't want to implicate the people of Nightless City. More importantly, Nightless City was attached to the Ning family's divine realm. If something really happened to the people of the God Lord's estate in Nightless City, the Ning family's divine realm wouldn't be able to get away with it. I really can't. Well, just avert the disaster. The master of the Ning family laughed evilly, his face sinister. Old man, where are you trying to draw the trouble? The Grand Elder asked curiously. How's the Yao clan? Master Ning said with a smile. I think it's fine. The First Elder nodded seriously with a gloating expression. Lung Ruoxue looked at how excited her godfather and Great Elder were, and could not bear to dampen their spirits. However, she could not help but pity the Yao family. Poor Yao family. Why are you so tired of Godfather's eyes? In fact, she was also clear that although the relationship between the 8 great divine regions seemed to be close, in reality, there were many contradictions in the light and in the dark. Things like dragging each other down happened from time to time. Moreover, the Yao family, as the second largest family, had always been envious of the Ning family, and had secretly caused trouble for them. At the same time, the Yao family was also the biggest thorn in the Ning family's side. Hence, it was only natural that Godfather wanted to lure Xiaobing to the Yao family's territory. However, he did not know if Xiaobing would fall for it. Then it's decided. Tomorrow, we'll go to the Yao family's divine territory for a stroll. Master Ning couldn't hide the pride on his face, and he was even more narcissistic in his heart. How could he be so smart? He really admired himself. Godfather. How far is the Yao family's god domain from here? Lung Ruoxue could not help but ask. If we're fast, we'll be there in 5 days. Master Ning's face revealed a wretched smile. And he was also a little excited in his heart. He had wanted to deal with that old thing in the Yao family for a long time. Today he finally found an opportunity to add some trouble to the Yao family. He believed that after this matter was done, the Yao family would not be able to rest for a while. 5 days? Then wouldn't the round trip take 10 days? Would we still be able to make it in time for the clan competition? Lung Ruoxue asked. Don't worry. The final stage of the competition would take at least half a month. This doesn't even include the rest time in between, so we have enough time. The master of the Ning family frowned and calculated before saying, But I told Xiaobing that flying beasts would faint. We can't just walk to the Yao family's divine realm. Lung Ruoxue's beautiful face was filled with innocence. She blinked her beautiful eyes and stared at the 2 old men in front of her. If we were to walk, it would probably take at least half a year to get there. The master of the Ning family said seriously, Damn old man. Now is not the time for you to joke. When the great elder heard the Ning family master's words, he glared at him unhappily, then said, It's just making flying beasts dizzy. This was not a big deal. If Xiaobing asks, you can just say that you ate a beast stun pill. Animal knockout powder? There's such a thing? Lung Ruoxue had a look of surprise on her face. She had heard of medicine for motion sickness and seasickness, but this was the first time she had heard of medicine for beast sickness. Of course not. However, you can just make up something to fool him. The first elder disapprovingly said. All right. Lung Ruoxue wiped away the cold sweat on her forehead and agreed. Well, head to the Yao clan's divine domain tomorrow morning. Have a good rest. The master of the Ning family made the final decision, and then he said, Shuer girl, take out your house. Let's go in and sleep. It's going to be very noisy outside. And Lung Ruoxue nodded. She then took out the house and placed it in the spacious living room. The living room was very large. It seemed that his godfather had already prepared it. After taking out the house, the master of the Ning family and the great elder walked straight in. As for Lung Ruoxue, she was lying on the bed in the inn. When night fell, Lung Ruoxue left the room on purpose to put on a good show. She planned to go see the fireflies, and as expected, she saw Xiaobing waiting for her. Miss Lung, did you sleep well? Outside the room, Xiaobing, who was leaning against the corridor wall, greeted Lung Ruoxue with a faint smile. Not good. I don't like the bed. Lung Ruoxue said helplessly. She then continued. Mr. Xiaobing, father and grandfather are bringing me home tomorrow. Oh, may I know where Miss Lung's home is? Perhaps we can go the same way. Xiaobing said with a smile. After hearing Xiaobing's words, Lung Ruoxue was extremely depressed. How could Xiaobing be so thick-skinned? Lung Ruoxue had already said that she was going home, yet she still wanted to go the same way as her. However, this was also within her expectations, so Lung Ruoxue only grumbled in her heart. She then chuckled and said, My home is in the Yao family's god domain. May I know what is the relationship between Miss Lung and the Yao family? Xiaobing asked as he searched for the news of the smaller clans in the Yao clan's divine realm. But to no avail. I have nothing to do with the Yao family. We're just living in the Yao family's divine realm. Lung Ruoxue's lips curled into a smile as she replied indifferently. Oh, Xiaobing replied softly. After saying that, he felt a little frustrated. There were many small and medium-sized clans in the Yao clan's divine realm, but Lung Ruoxue said that they had nothing to do with the Yao clan. Was this possible? The families in the Yao family's divine realm were basically dependent on the Yao family for survival. Otherwise, the Yao family wouldn't have allowed you to live in the Yao family's divine realm. Hence, his intuition told him that Lung Ruoxue was lying to him again. I know what Sir Xiaobing is thinking, but my family only has my grandfather, father and sister. The Yao family won't like us, and we're only temporarily staying in the Yao family's divine realm. Once we have a fixed place to stay, we'll leave that place. Lung Ruoxue, who had seen through Xiaobing's thoughts, explained with a forced smile. After hearing Lung Ruoxia's words, the doubts in Xiaobing's heart were slightly relieved. However, he did not completely believe Lung Ruoxia's words, because his intuition told him that the three of them had a secret. Miss Lung, I'm also going to the Yao clan's divine realm. Let's go together tomorrow. After a moment of silence, Xiaobing finally spoke. Actually, he did not have to follow Lung Ruoxia and the other two, but he was too suspicious. He felt that Lung Ruoxia was a mystery, so the more confused he was, the more he wanted to find out. All right. Lung Ruoxia nodded, then turned around and went downstairs. Xiaobing naturally followed. Chapter 1558. Shifting the disaster to the east 3. Their room was on the second floor. The first floor was the hotel lobby and the dining room. After Lung Ruoxia went downstairs, she went to the dining room to have something to eat before leaving the hotel. Xiaobing followed by her side. As she walked on the streets of the nightless city and looked at the people walking to and fro, she thought about the time bomb that was following her. No matter what, Lung Ruoxia couldn't bring herself to be happy. However, it was a good thing that Xiaobing didn't talk much. Otherwise, she would be even more depressed. After a long time, Lung Ruoxia felt that it was about time. Sir Xiaobing, it's getting late. We still have to head to the Yao clan's divine domain tomorrow. Why don't we return to the inn earlier to rest? Lung Ruoxia chuckled as she reminded him. And Xiaobing nodded. The reason why he followed them out was to keep an eye on Lung Ruoxia. Since Lung Ruoxia was going back, there was no reason for him to continue loitering around on the streets. After returning to the inn, Lung Ruoxia greeted Xiaobing and returned to her room. She only heaved a sigh of relief when she entered her room. Acting was quite tiring, especially when the opponent was a difficult character. The next morning, after Lung Ruoxia and her two grandparents had their breakfast, they planned to head to the Yao clan's divine realm. Standing at the door of the inn, the master of the Ning family looked at Xiaobing and said with a smirk, Mr. Xiaobing, can I borrow your flying beast? When our flying beasts came here, they flew too fast and got tired. In fact, he was afraid that Xiaobing would recognize him if he took out his flying beast, so he had no choice but to target Xiaobing, who asked that guy to stick to them. I can. Xiaobing had no choice but to summon his flying beast. His flying beast was a huge flying bear. It was almost 3 meters tall, and its entire body was yellow in color. It was a level 8 Saint God beast, and had a pair of golden wings that were slightly thinner than the flying bear. When Lung Ruoxia saw the flying bear, she almost laughed out loud. This was because it was a pair of wings on a bear's body. No matter how she looked at it, it was comical. Furthermore, she was very suspicious. With the bear's weight, could it even fly? Don't worry. Feifei's flying speed is very fast and very stable. Seeing through Lung Ruoxia's thoughts, Xiaobing said with a helpless expression, Are you sure it won't fall from the sky? Not only did Xiaobing's words not make Lung Ruoxia feel at ease, she even asked him directly, I definitely want tea. Xiaobing looked helpless and did not know what to say. Beauty. It'll make you comfortable. Don't worry. The giant bear Feifei saw that Lung Ruoxia did not trust it, so it promised her. However, it was fine if it did not say anything, but once it did, it would shock everyone with its words. When Lung Ruoxia heard Feifei's words, black lines appeared on her forehead. She thought to herself, could it be that one is marked by one's proximity to vermilion and one is marked by one's proximity to ink? Did it learn from its master to say such fantasizing words? At the thought of this, Lung Ruoxia's beautiful eyes could not help but drift towards Xiaobing. Her probing and suspicious gaze made Xiaobing's face turn red, as if it was on fire. Feifei means that it'll be very comfortable to sit on it. Don't misunderstand. Xiaobing quickly explained, but after he said that, he felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't put his finger on it. Oh, Lung Ruoxia deliberately dragged her words and looked at Xiaobing with a half-smile. Then at the giant bear who seemed to be embarrassed. She came to an important conclusion: a beast takes after its master. A crooked upper beam will have a crooked lower beam. It's late. Let's get on our way. Xiaobing said awkwardly. Then, he recalled that Lung Ruoxua had mentioned that she would be fazed by beasts. He looked at Lung Ruoxua worriedly and said, "Miss Lung, what are you going to do? What's wrong?" Fei Fei asked curiously. "Fei Fei, young lady Lung can make flying beasts faint." Xiao Bing explained to his pet. "Oh, then he'll fly slower." Fei Fei looked at Lung Ruoxua with sympathy. Poor little beauty. Why would she faint on a flying beast? "No need, I've already taken a beast vertigo pill," Lung Ruoxua said. She was secretly glad that she was prepared. Otherwise, she really didn't know how to deal with this. Beast vertigo pill? What's that? Xiao Bing's face was filled with confusion and big question marks. His pair of black and bright eyes were staring at Lung Ruoxua without blinking, as if he was saying, "Open my eyes. This is it. If Sir Xiao Bing is interested, you can try one." Lung Ruoxua took out a black pill from her bracelet and handed it to Xiao Bing. Xiao Bing took the pill and sniffed it. He was surprised to find that the pill was stinky. Although the smell was not obvious, he could not pretend that he could not smell it. "This is the beast vertigo pill? Why is it stinky?" Xiao Bing's handsome face was filled with disbelief, but he knew how to ask shamelessly. "It's stinky. Once you eat it, you won't have the mood to think about other things. That's why it's effective against fainting beasts." Lung Ruoxua's mind was spinning as she made up a story. Actually, that wasn't a beast vertigo pill. That pill was a stinky pill that she usually used to prank people. The reason why she had taken it out to fool people was because she knew that even an alchemist who was proficient in alchemy would not know what a stinky pill was. In the immortal realm, there was no one who really suffered from beast phobia, so even if Xiao Bing wanted to find someone to test the pill on, he would not be able to find anything. Of course, there would still be a stench, and it would not be removed in a short period of time. "Sir Xiao Bing, do you want to compensate me?" Lung Ruoxua laughed evilly. No need. I don't have beast phobia," Xiao Bing said hurriedly. He did not dare to eat anything carelessly. What if something really happened? Moreover, the pill's stench was somewhat unacceptable to him. What a pity. Lung Ruoxua felt a little regretful. "Let's go," Xiao Bing said as he wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. Lung Ruoxua and the other two nodded and sat on Fei Fei's back. The fur on Fei Fei's back was very thick. It was indeed very comfortable to sit on, as it had said. However, Fei Fei was clearly a chatterbox. After it took off, its mouth did not stop. Furthermore, it kept calling Lung Ruoxua beauty. Lung Ruoxua was both angry and amused when she heard it. However, she could not be too calculative with a big stupid bear, so she could only pretend that she had not heard it. "Beauty, why are you ignoring me?" Seeing that it was being ignored by Lung Ruoxua, Fei Fei turned its head around and said with a face full of hidden bitterness, "Focus on flying. Be careful, you might hit the tree." Lung Ruoxua reminded. The trees in the immortal realm were all tall and straight, and many of them even shot up into the sky. Hence, if one was not careful while flying, it was possible that one would crash into a tree. Who knew that just as she finished speaking, she heard a bang, followed by a violent shaking. Then a few leaves fell on Lung Ruoxua's body. Chapter 1559. Shifting the disaster to the east. 4. Fei Fei really did crash into a tree. Lung Ruoxua almost laughed out loud when she saw the big bright bump on its head. Was she a jinx? Fei Fei, who had crashed into a huge tree, endured the pain and steadied its body. Then it continued to look at Lung Ruoxua with a face full of resentment and slowly said in a wrong tone, "Beauty, you have to compensate me. What does it have to do with me? I'm not the one who bumped into you. You can go ask it for compensation." Lung Ruoxua pointed at a giant tree not far away. "It's not a beauty. Besides, I bumped into the tree because I turned around to talk to you. That's why you should make it up to me." Although Fei Fei was a bear, it was quite smart. It naturally knew that if something happened, it had to find the culprit. "Did I ask you to turn around and talk to me?" Lung Ruoxua was bewildered. "No, I didn't," Fei Fei whispered. "Since that's the case, you can just ask it for compensation," Lung Ruoxua reminded. "But I just want you to compensate me," Fei Fei said shamelessly. Every injustice has its perpetrator, every debt has its debtor. You can go look for whoever hit you. Lung Ruoxue rolled her eyes at Feifei. After she finished speaking, she turned around and did not look at it anymore. Feifei glared at Lung Ruoxue for a long while. Seeing that Lung Ruoxue had no reaction, and its master looked like he was waiting for a good show, it sighed and resigned itself to its fate. This time it finally closed its mouth. Actually, it was not that it did not want to talk anymore, but no one would bother with it even if it did. Sop. It was a bear that was despised by others. After 5 days of traveling, Lung Ruoxue and the rest finally reached the Yao clan's divine territory. Although the Yao family's god domain was ranked second among the 8 god domains, its size was not any smaller than the Ning family's god domain. In recent years, it even showed signs of surpassing the Ning family's god domain. The biggest reason for this was the Yao family's competitive ancestor. Feifei carried Lung Ruoxue and the rest and landed outside a small border city that belonged to the Yao clan's divine territory. This city was located at the very edge of the Yao family's divine territory. As it was quite far from the main city and there were very few people living in the city, it did not seem as luxurious as the other cities in the Yao family's divine territory. However, this city had a rather pleasant name, 100-Bird City. It was said that this 100-Bird City had a long history in the divine world, and its age was uncountable. This name was also passed down from the ancient times and had been used until today. Even compared to the main city of the Yao family, this 100-Bird City was an ancient city worthy of its name. However, the location of this 100-Bird City was too remote, so it was not valued by the Yao family. Lung Ruoxue and the rest walked into the city on foot. As they walked along the streets of 100-Bird City and looked at the antique-looking buildings, Master Ning couldn't help but exclaim, "This 100-Bird City is indeed an ancient city. It has a strong cultural atmosphere. As an ancient city, there would naturally be unforgettable things." However, with outsiders present, he could only sigh and not comment. However, the great elder did not have his concern. So what? In the eyes of the Yao clan, this city is of no value. The first elder curled his lips and said in disdain, "Ai, what a pity." The master of the Ning family looked regretful. He couldn't help but think to himself, why did such a valuable ancient city have to be in the Yao family's divine realm? Wasn't that a waste of God's gift? What's there to pity? This city is old. It's time to let it rest. The first elder sighed. When Lung Ruoxue heard their conversation, she naturally knew what they were thinking. Her godfather and great elder had lived for God knows how long, so it was only natural for them to have a deep impression of these things that existed in their memories. It was a pity that the divine world was not the world she was in her past life, so they knew the value of cultural relics. Furthermore, these things happened to belong to the Yao family, so they probably didn't care about it. Otherwise, why would they let this ancient city be so deserted? And this 100-Bird City, compared to the other cities she had seen before, was indeed a little old, even not comparable to the Nightless City. Ai, Chue, let's go home. After the master of the Ning family sighed, he told everyone that he had asked his subordinates to buy a house, which happened to be located in the 100-Bird City. And Lung Ruoxue nodded. Then, they followed the master of the Ning family to a house. This house was located in the northwest of 100-Bird City, less than 1,000 meters away from the city lord's mansion. It was in a very good location, and it faced south. Although it was just an ordinary house, the courtyard was full of flowers, looking particularly warm. After entering the courtyard, the master of the Ning family ordered someone to take Xiaobing to the guest room, and they went back to their own rooms. After a simple rest, the master of the Ning family held a banquet to entertain Xiaobing. During the banquet, Xiaobing actually asked about Ning Yan's whereabouts, but he was simply pushed away by Lung Ruoxue. For the next few days, Lung Ruoxue also used cultivation as an excuse to hide in her room, avoiding Xiaobing. Xiaobing, who was staying in the guest courtyard, could not figure it out no matter how much he thought about it. Not only was he unable to see Lung Ruoxue, but he could also not see her grandfather and father. Xiaobing, who was bored to death, walked out of the courtyard, and was about to try looking for Lung Ruoxue and the others. Suddenly, a golden bird descended from the sky and landed on his shoulder. It spoke in the human language. Sir Xiaobing, the Divine Master has ordered you to return to the Divine Master's estate immediately. After saying that, the golden bird turned into nothingness and disappeared without a trace. This little golden bird was the Divine Master's unique communication method. No matter where he was, as long as he was still alive, he could find him. Moreover, this method was only used by the Divine Master. Even if others wanted to imitate it, they wouldn't have the chance. However, he couldn't understand why the Divine Master would summon him back at this time. However, since the Divine Master had already given the order, he naturally did not dare to delay. Even though he was a little unwilling, he could only leave this place. As for that Lung Ruoxue, he would find out more about her when he had the chance. Thinking of this, he strode towards the main courtyard. Xiaobing was stopped by a man who claimed to be the butler as soon as he entered the main courtyard. Mr. Xiaobing, my lady is still cultivating. Ning Shan, who was disguised as the butler, said with a guarded expression. I know. I want to see your master. Xiaobing said helplessly. The butler was guarding against him as if he was a thief, and he really didn't know how he had offended him. Is there anything I can help you with, Sir Xiaobing? My master is taking an afternoon nap. Ning Shan said. I'm here to bid farewell. Xiaobing told the truth. What he didn't know was that his decision to leave had saved him from a fatal disaster. Sir Xiaobing is leaving? Ning Shan was shocked. If Xiaobing left, wouldn't their arrangements be in vain? The reason why they hadn't made a move for the past few days was to confuse Xiaobing, so that they wouldn't alert the enemy. However, now that the snake that they had set up was about to leave, their efforts would be in vain. Chapter 1560. The Mute Eats the Yellow Lotus 1. The God Lord's mansion has an important matter. The God Lord has ordered me to return as soon as possible. Xiaobing explained. Actually, he didn't need to explain to a butler, but after spending these few days together, he knew very well that if he didn't make things clear, the butler would never let him see the master of the Lung family. He, Xiaobing, could get whatever he wanted in the Divine Lord's manor, but now he had to listen to a butler. What was going on? In that case, I'll inform my master. Please wait a moment, Mr. Xiaobing. After Ning Shan finished speaking, she unwillingly entered her master's room. In the room, hearing Ning Shan's words, the master of the Ning family had a serious and unwilling expression. When Lung Ruoxue saw her godfather's expression, she chuckled and said, Godfather, wasn't it good that he was leaving? Well, save a lot of trouble. Then we've come to the Yao family's divine realm for nothing. I've been setting it up for several days, but I didn't use it. I'm not satisfied. The master of the Ning family said in frustration. In fact, the reason he wanted to kill Xiaobing was that he was too difficult to deal with. Other than that, he didn't do anything too much to Shui. However, if he could get rid of Xiaobing and frame the Yao family, wouldn't that be perfect? Right now, he seemed to be more depressed that he couldn't frame the Yao family, and he didn't care about Xiaobing's life or death. Godfather, are you not willing to let the Yao family live a carefree life? Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. And the master of the Ning family nodded without any courtesy. That's easy. Lung Ruoxue said with a smirk. Then she whispered a few words into Master Ning's ear. In an instant, Master Ning revealed a wretched smile. Shui, you are indeed my goddaughter. Well, do as you say. Master Ning nodded with a smile. Shui, Er's idea was great. He didn't have to kill Xiaobing, but he could still frame the Yao family. Then, Godfather, please send Xiaobing away. Lung Ruoxue urged. Good. I'll go see him now. Master Ning left the room in a hurry. First Elder and Ning Shan, who were left in the room, saw that the master of the Ning family was suddenly excited. They were also very curious. Their eyes were fixed on Lung Ruoxue, as if they wanted to get an answer from her. However, Lung Ruoxue kept them in suspense and told them that they would know in a while. After a while, the master of the Ning family sent Xiaobing off and returned to his room. Then he told Ning Shan about his arrangements. Then Ning Shan left with a strange smile on her face. Late at night, Lung Ruoxue and the rest left the house that they had only stayed in for a few days. Before they left, they even set a fire. At the same time, Xiaobing, who had just left Hundred Bird City, was on his way. He, who was lying on Feifei's body, suddenly staggered and almost fell off. At this moment, Feifei was flying in the air. If he fell, even if he didn't get crushed, he would be seriously injured. Therefore, he was extremely angry and was about to reprimand Feifei when he found that he was surrounded. There were dozens of people surrounding him, and they were all dressed in black, with unfriendly smiles on their faces. Moreover, they were all sitting on flying beasts. However, these men in black were obviously trained, and were not like those ordinary bandits who robbed houses. From their looks, they looked more like guards of some family. However, most of the guards in the families in the divinity wore black, so Xiaobing could not tell where they came from. After calming himself down, Xiaobing slowly said, "Who are you people? What do you want to do? You're so bold. How dare you fly above our Yao family's god domain?" The leader of the black men glared at Xiaobing angrily. The other men in black shared the same hatred and glared at Xiaobing. Xiaobing was relieved to hear the leader's words. As long as these people were not bandits, it would be much easier to deal with them. After all, he was a member of the Divine Lord's Manor. These people would not dare to disrespect the Divine Lord's Manor. "You are the guards of the Yao clan?" Xiaobing asked despite knowing the answer. "So what if I am? Don't even think about trying to get close to us. Even if he's the emperor, he can't fly in the sky above our Yao family's god realm." The leader of the men in black shouted in a bad mood. "I'm Xiaobing from the Divine Master's estate. I'm going back to the Divine Master's mansion under the Divine Master's order. Please make it convenient for me. This is my token." As Xiaobing spoke, he took out a golden token. The two words Xiaobing were engraved on the front of the token, while the totem of the Divine Lord's Manor was on the back. The leader of the men in black looked at the token and said with a smile, "It really is the token of the Divine Lord's estate. However, even if you are a member of the Divine Lord's estate, you can't fly in the sky above the Yao family's divine territory." "Oh really? Didn't your patriarch tell you that the token of the Divine Master's estate has special privileges no matter where it is?" Xiaobing laughed coldly as he became even more dissatisfied with the Yao family. The Yao family had gone too far. They dared to make things difficult for the people of the God Lord's estate. Didn't they know that the entire divine world was under the jurisdiction of the God Lord's estate? Everyone in the divinity had to listen to the orders of the God Lord's estate. But now, the Yao family had openly opposed the God Lord's estate. They were overestimating themselves. In the divine realm, although there was no written rule that flying beasts were not allowed when traveling through lands with owners, out of respect for the owners, everyone would tacitly agree to leave the city by walking or rent a beast carriage in the city. The act of riding a flying beast could also be regarded as a form of provocation to the owner. In the 8 great divine realms, almost all of the top forces had clearly stated that such behavior was prohibited. Therefore, Xiaobing's behavior was very inappropriate. However, he was in a hurry to get back to the Divine Lord's estate, and he had the Divine Lord's support, so he naturally didn't care about this rule. Now that he was suddenly stopped, and the other party obviously didn't take his identity seriously, he couldn't help but feel a great sense of disappointment. The dissatisfaction in his heart grew, and his face gradually darkened. However, even so, it didn't have much of an effect on the man in black. "I don't know what privileges the token of the Divine Master's estate has," the man in black said with a smile. "I only know that you have violated the city rules of the Yao family." The leader of the men in black didn't give him any face, and this made Xiaobing, who was already in a bad mood, even more furious. He squinted his eyes and glared at the men in black in front of him, and released a trace of pressure. However, the man in black in front of him didn't change his expression. Instead, he looked at Xiaobing provocatively, as if to say, "Your pressure is useless against us." Xiaobing was furious. He had never been a kind person. Previously, when he was with Lung Ruoxue and the others, he had concealed his true nature. Other than trying to figure out Lung Ruoxue's identity, it was also because Lung Ruoxue was a rare beauty. As a man, He would naturally have some tender and protective thoughts towards women, and he was no exception. Chapter 1561. The mute eats yellow lotus, too. However, before he could figure out Lung Ruoxia's situation, he was summoned back by the Divine Master. Of course, he was not happy about it. In addition, the Yao family's guards were not blind. They knew that he was from the Divine Master's estate, but they still wanted to find trouble with him. This made the anger in his heart multiply. He could show Lung Ruoxia mercy, but there was no need for him to do so to the Yao family guards. "You're all looking for death," Xiaobing said coldly with his eyes half closed. "Yo, are you threatening us? This is the Yao family's territory. You're courting death by threatening the Yao family's people in the Yao family's divine realm," the leader of the men in black warned. "It is, boss. He couldn't leave the Yao family's divine realm alive. We have to let him know the power of our Yao family. Humph. The God Lord's estate is nothing." The other man in black agreed with a look of disdain. His words resonated with the other men in black, and they all burst into laughter. "Ha ha. You have to be punished for breaking the rules of our Yao family's divine realm. We don't care who you are." After the men in black had enough of laughing, they said in unison. Some of them even flashed the weapons in their hands. The bright light pierced Xiaobing's eyes. With a thought, a long sword appeared in his hand. At the same time, he sent a message to the Divine Master's residence. Then, he waved the long sword in his hand, and a light blue sword light flew toward the leader of the men in black. Xiaobing made the first move. He was very clear on the principle of capturing the leader first to capture the bandits, so his first target was the annoying leader of the men in black. Moreover, the two of them seemed to be on par in terms of strength, so as long as he killed the leader, the others were not a threat at all. Seeing that Xiaobing had made his move, the leader of the men in black calmly dodged the sword light. He then gave a look to his subordinates, and instantly, a number of multicolored godly skills were launched at Xiaobing. Feifei, who was under Xiaobing's feet, quickly cast a defensive barrier around its master. The rainbow-colored godly skills did not even have the chance to reach Xiaobing before they were absorbed by a pale yellow defensive barrier. When the men in black saw this, they were really envious, jealous, and hateful. This fat bear's defense was just too abnormal, and it was also a level 8 Saint God beast. As a result, it was very difficult for them to break through its defense in a short time, and this made them quite unwilling. "Captain, what do we do now?" One of the men in black whispered to Xiaobing in a low voice. "We're going to fight to the death. Otherwise, how can we face the head of the family?" The leader of the men in black said angrily. After he finished speaking, he threw a black ball the size of a baby's fist in Xiaobing's direction. When the men in black saw this, they quickly kept a safe distance from Xiaobing. Xiaobing sneered as he looked at the man in black's childish behavior, feeling contempt in his heart. In the immortal realm, Feifei's defense might not be the best, but it was definitely in the top 10. So no matter what they did, he would not be afraid. This was also the trump card that allowed him to fight against so many people at once. Therefore, he really didn't care about that small black ball. Also, according to his guess, that thing should be a bomb. However, after waiting for a while, he didn't see the thing explode. Instead, he smelled an unpleasant smell rising from his surroundings. Wah! It was so smelly. "You guys are so bad. Do you want to suffocate Feifei to death?" Feifei couldn't take it anymore and screamed, covering its nose with one of its huge claws. Slowly, its body became stiff and numb. It shook its body for some reason, but it forgot that it was in the air, and Xiaobing, who was on its back, fell straight down without any preparation. Master! Feifei, who felt that something was wrong, shouted loudly again. "Damn you, Feifei!" Xiaobing bellowed and quickly reached out an arm to grab Feifei's long hair, hanging it in the air. However, this way, he was completely exposed to the men in black and became a live target. Brothers! Please entertain the guests of the Divine Lord's estate." The leader of the men in black laughed evilly, and at his command, dozens of divine skills flew toward Xiaobing. This time, without the protection of Feifei's defensive barrier, those beautiful and dazzling divine skills landed directly on Xiaobing's body. In the blink of an eye, Xiao Bing was covered in wounds and in a sorry state. Seeing the injuries on his body, the anger in Xiao Bing's heart surged. He subconsciously grabbed onto Fei Fei's long hair and held his sword with one hand. He held his breath and was about to counterattack when he suddenly realized that the men in black who had surrounded him had disappeared. Damn it! Where were those people hiding? Xiao Bing's bright black eyes searched around, but he couldn't find a single clue. Xiao Bing, are you all right? Suddenly, a loud voice rang in Xiao Bing's ears. He raised his head and saw the man in red, who was looking at him with a smile. The anger in his heart grew because this man was none other than his rival, Jin Yang. However, at this moment he also knew why the men in black had suddenly disappeared. What do you think? Xiao Bing said through gritted teeth. Looking at how angry you are, you should be fine. However, you have quite a lot of injuries on your body. Are you being besieged? Jin Yang said, gloating. You don't have eyes. Can't you see for yourself? Xiao Bing said angrily. This damn guy just loved to laugh at him. He couldn't understand why the Divine Master sent this guy here, when he knew that they didn't get along. Wasn't he just causing trouble for him? Especially when Jin Yang saw him in such a sorry state. Tska. How pitiful. It's a good thing I came in time, otherwise, I would have to collect your corpse. Jin Yang said with a smile, but he felt a little regretful in his heart. If only he had come a little later. Damn it. Quickly pull me up. Xiao Bing flew into a rage out of humiliation. He was still hanging in the air. That damn guy actually pretended not to see it, and was even talking nonsense with him. Arg. What's wrong with you? You're not riding a flying beast, but a flying man. Jin Yang seemed to have just noticed Xiao Bing's state, and he said with a surprised look, Master, it hurts. At this time Fei Fei, whose long hair was being pulled, finally couldn't bear the pain and whispered, You shut up. Xiao Bing roared. Then he looked at Jin Yang with an unfriendly expression and said, Hurry up and help. All right. Jin Yang knew when to stop. He sat on his flying beast and came to Xiao Bing's side. He reached out his hand and gently lifted Xiao Bing, then threw him onto Fei Fei's back. Xiao Bing took a healing elixir, looked at Jin Yang and said, Why are you alone? He had asked the Divine Master for help, saying that he had been besieged. The Divine Master wouldn't have only sent Jin Yang, right? Chapter 1562. The Mute Eats Yellow Lotus 3. I'm flying fast, the others are behind me, they should be here soon. Jin Yang said seriously. Although he hated Xiao Bing, he was still a member of the Divine Master's estate. As the saying goes, you have to look at the owner before you hit a dog. Since the other party dared to mess with the Divine Master's estate, it was no longer Xiao Bing's personal matter. Therefore, the Divine Master's estate had to step in and settle this matter. God Lord, do you have any instructions? Xiao Bing nodded and asked. The Divine Master has given me full authority to deal with this matter. Don't worry. I will seek justice for you. Jin Yang promised with a smile. I want to deal with this myself. Xiao Bing said bluntly. He didn't believe that Jin Yang would seek justice for him. It was already good enough that Jin Yang didn't hit him when he was down. Why would he care about his life or death? Xiao Bing, although we've never been on good terms, this matter is no longer your personal matter. The Yao family has disgraced the Divine Lord's estate, so we naturally won't let them off easily. Jin Yang reminded him. He knew that Xiao Bing didn't trust him, so he wasn't willing to stand up for him. However, this was the Divine Master's order. He did not dare to disobey. Don't worry. You'll definitely be satisfied. Jin Yang added. Then I'll believe you this once. Although he didn't really trust Jin Yang, he believed that Jin Yang would never bring shame to the Divine Lord's residence. Oh right. Didn't you go to the Endless Sea? Why would he appear in the Yao family's god domain? Jin Yang asked with a face full of question marks. I chased a dolphin from the eye of the endless ocean to the cold pond near the Ning family's divine realm. And then I came here. Xiao Bing explained simply, but he hid the fact that he had met Leng Ruoxia. Have you managed to contract that dolphin? Jin Yang asked curiously. No, I didn't. We let it run away. Xiao Bing was annoyed. He ran away? How was that possible? The beasts in the sea were much weaker on land, so how could they escape? Could it be that the dolphin has the strength of a reverent god? Jin Yang guessed. No, I didn't. It's just a god king level dolphin. Xiao Bing said gloomily. He had wanted to catch a beastie from the sea for a long time, and this was his best chance. Who knew that he would not be able to catch one? But you didn't catch him? Jin Yang's face was full of disbelief, and there was a faint trace of contempt in his eyes. Do you think the sea beasts are easy to catch? Xiao Bing said in a bad mood. After that, he turned around and ignored Jin Yang. Not long after, the main force sent by the God Lord's manor finally arrived. There were about 20 people sent by the God Lord's estate, including Jin Yang. Most of them were divine emperors, and the weakest among them was a divine king. It was clear that the God Lord's estate's strength could not be underestimated. These people were led by Jin Yang. Although Jin Yang also had the strength of a divine emperor, the strength of divine emperors of the same level was not exactly the same. However, Jin Yang was definitely a top expert among the divine emperors, and was deeply trusted by the divine master. Seeing that everyone had arrived, Jin Yang and the others flew directly to the main city of the Yao family. At this time, it was late at night in the main city of the Yao family. Most people were immersed in their dreams. After arriving at the destination, Jin Yang and the others did not delay, and went straight to the main house of the Yao family. The Yao family's main residence was located in the center of the Yao family's main city, covering an area of hundreds of thousands of hectares. From the outside, one could only see tall and majestic buildings standing in the main residence, giving off a majestic feeling. Upon entering the main residence, one would realize that the Yao family was built with a cluster of palaces. The pavilions and pagodas reflected each other, and a small bridge ran through them. In addition, many precious flowers and plants were planted in the courtyard, giving one a sense of pleasure. However, the angry Xiao Bing and the others were not in the mood to appreciate the Yao family's luxury. Besides, in their eyes, the Yao family's mansion was not even comparable to the Divine Lord's mansion. After reporting his identity, he was respectfully invited into the living room of the main residence. Xiao Bing and the others sat on the chairs and waited for a moment before a middle-aged man came in with a hurried expression. Mr. Jin Yang, Mr. Xiao Bing, and everyone else, hello. Sorry for not welcoming you. The middle-aged man wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and said in fear. Although he looked like that on the surface, he could not help but curse in his heart. Nothing good could come from coming to the Yao family in the middle of the night. Not to mention that her sweet dreams were disturbed. She still had to treat these people like her ancestors. She was really aggrieved. However, these people were from the Divine Master's estate. Although the Yao family was ranked second among the 8 great divine regions, they still had to act according to the God Lord Manor's wishes. You're the head of the Yao family? Xiao Bing said coldly as he lifted his eyelids. I'm the acting head of the Yao family, Yao Hua. Yao Hua introduced himself. Acting clan head? We're here to see the head of the Yao family, but you're using a substitute head to fool us. Do you think we're easy to bully? Xiao Bing squinted his eyes and said unhappily. You've misunderstood, Sir Xiao Bing. The master is not in the main residence. Yao Hua was so scared that he quickly said. In fact, he was lying through his teeth, because the Yao family's ancestor was in the family's forbidden area. However, the old ancestor did not want to see the people of the Divine Lord's estate, so he had asked him to deal with it. However, looking at the attitude of these people, he was afraid that he could not deal with them. Not in the main residence. Where did the Yao family head go? Xiao Bing asked coldly, not believing Yao Hua's words at all. I went out to meet some friends. Yao Hua said after some thought. Friends? I thought you'd tell me that your ancestor was in seclusion. Xiao Bing said with a half-smile. I really went out to meet some friends. Yao Hua said nervously. In fact, he really wanted to say that he was going into seclusion, but he didn't know why these people were here. If they had something important to do, they couldn't just come out immediately after saying that they were going into seclusion. That would be too fake. Since the head of the Yao family has gone to meet his friends, I'll have to trouble you to inform him to return on behalf of the head. We have something important to do. Xiao Bing ordered coldly. May I know what's the matter? Yao Hua asked shamelessly. I was attacked in your Yao family's divine domain. Xiao Bing said indifferently. Arg. Who's so bold? Yao Hua was shocked, and he was crying out in his heart. No wonder he came to the Yao family. Could it be that he wanted the Yao family to help him find the murderer? However, it was best not to get involved in this kind of thing, because if it was not handled well, he would get into trouble, he thought. However, the other party was a member of the Divine Lord's estate, so he would not be so foolish as to reject him in front of him. However, if the other party was really as he had guessed, he would definitely not put in all his effort to find the murderer for the other party. In an instant, his thoughts turned over and over again, but his face remained calm and composed. They are the guards of your Yao clan. Jin Yang said with a smile. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.